Frames. Still have frames.
All right. We have been running for a few seconds here, not immediately dropped all the frames, so I think we are ready to go live. Thank you all for joining us again for another Sunday afternoon stream here on Sound Goblin Gaming, and the triumphant, majestic return of Super Robot Sundays. Please note, triumphant and majesty not guaranteed. So we're going to be coming back here, as you may notice from the stream title, to SD Gundam G Generation Genesis.
SD Gaga Gaga.
Christ almighty, that title is actually hard to say.
SG4G.
Yeah. But yeah, we're coming back to this after almost exactly 2 years off. Our last stream of this was April 1st, 2020. So we are just like 2 weeks shy of almost exactly 2 years off from this game. I have no idea what coincidentally may have occurred almost exactly 2 years ago, which stopped us from doing the streams of this game, since the whole point of this was like an in-person stream we did over at one of our houses. Not a clue.
I don't know, it might have been like an
No idea. Some, I don't know, just weird coincidence. No idea.
It's because I actually hate all of you.
Well, that's not a secret. I mean,
That's not a secret. That hasn't stopped us before.
Fair enough.
but yeah, so we're back now. We have done, we were right in the middle of the Zionic Front campaign here. Getting kind of close to the end of 1 Year War content.
Give me. Give me.
Okay. Okay,
Can I leave it like that?
Yeah, but so we are getting kind of close to the end of 1 Year War content here in
the most relative of
G-Gen.
senses. The 1 year war never ends.
We have
Can't hear the game. Okay, hold on.
Yep.
We are messing around with some audio stuff to be able to hear us and the game. I think I know how to change that. It'll be just a moment here.
Our levels are fine, but we just can't hear them.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure. I don't need
Okay.
you should all expect this by now.
Yes. I mean, it's new game, and we're hooking this up via...
Technically, it's an old game.
Okay. Game we haven't done...
It's a game we haven't done with this audio setup.
Go ahead and
Yeah.
check it now. Should have. I think I need to change that to monitor and output. Yes, so the last time around when we were doing these streams, we did not have a roughly $1,000 audio capture setup over here, and just had a shitty Blue Yeti mic on
Singular
a
Blue Yeti.
Yeah.
a singular Blue Yeti mic in the center of the room on a sound baffling stand. Yep, that's what I figured. And we just had a Elgato HD60 external capture card running to get everything. Because this is the first time we've run with this setup on a non-PC game, which involved us doing some jankery to make sure that we had game audio and you guys had game audio. But it looks like we got that figured out. So yeah, we're back with SD Gundam G Generation Genesis.
Yep.
We're going back into the Zionic Front. We've got about half of this campaign left to do, and then what was it, 4 more?
4 more, but most of them, with the exception of Missing Link, are all 2 or 3 missions.
Yeah, they're all 2 or 3 missions, so we'll be getting through this pretty quickly. I mean, we're still probably going to end up maybe doing 2 or 3 scenarios a session. We're most likely going to remain. Today we started a little bit late. Again, all the tech setup stuff and figuring out all that shit. But we're still going to probably be pushing to start around the sort of 12:30 time we've been doing for Berseria. Even though we used to start a little bit later for Super Robot Sundays, we used to not start till 2 and usually run for 2 hours. We're probably going to keep with the 4-hour thing. It actually works out as a good time and kind of is real nice for it, and will let us progress through this game quicker because we do have
a lot of Super Robot stuff.
quite a stockpile. In the intervening time between when we last left and when we got to here, I have not only picked up copies of the Southeast Asian releases of Super Robot Wars V and X, the other 2 games in the trilogy that was ended with T, so we're kind of going backwards a little bit there.
I mean, if it cared about continuity at all.
No,
Which
not
it does
even.
not.
The only continuity is that we got the mission where the people from V and X showed up. But in that intervening time, not only that, but also there was another SD Gundam G-Gen game released called SD Gundam G-Generation Cross-Rays, which is sort of the Genesis game, but for a lot of the AU stuff rather than the UC Gundams. Several of us have copies of that and have played a bit of it, and it's a lot of fun and does some really interesting innovations on the G-Gen format. And also fucking Super Robot Wars 30.
Yep.
Which is an absolutely incredible Super Robot Wars game. I've actually played through it twice already, and am probably going to do a third playthrough when my Steam Deck comes in. It is, I don't think it's a hot take to say, I think it is the best Super Robot Wars game ever made.
Very, very good.
Like, it's one of the first humongous innovations in the series in basically 30 years, and everything about it is just like, it's fucking butter. Like, every change they made is so much of a quality of life improvement. It's actually kind of hard to go back and play older Super Robot Wars games. So we've got that lined up, and then also the fan translation patch for SD Gundam G Generation Overworld actually got a full release in the intervening time as well, and it's actually a pretty solid translation patch. I've been doing a run through of it as both a fun thing for myself, B, a sort of scouting mission to get it ready for Super Robot Sundays, and C, also to actually get us a full sort of compendium for it. As you may recall, for this game, we actually have a lot of information because there's a lot of info out there, like on wikis and stuff like that, and even just a full-on like Google sheet that has basically all the suits, a bunch of the quest information, things like that for this game. Nothing like that actually exists for Overworld because it came out in like 2012 before the sort of propagation of wikis. There is like a singular Japanese wiki for Overworld that has a decent amount of information, but then running that through like Google Translate doesn't really help if I'm trying to find, hey, how do I get this particular suit? Because Google Translate's going to try and translate the suit name, and it's going to turn out a garbled fucking mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, as we get started here, I guess, 10 minutes into stream, may as well do our intros. I am, as always, Bograt.
I am the Krampus.
I'm Shiv.
And I'm Vincent.
Yeah, joining us now for Super Robot Sundays is, fellow member of Sound Goblin, Vincent, since he was kind of here around for all of Tales of Berseria. Yeah, just kind of continuing on from that. Yeah, he'll be here with us now. Vincent doesn't know a whole lot about Gundam, aside from kind of by osmosis being around a bunch of friends who are Gundam fans, but...
I've watched some of the series, but I haven't watched anywhere near as much as... And anything past, like, the 1 Year War, I pretty much have no knowledge of.
Yeah, so he's not as big on that, but I would say probably out of all of us, he is the biggest strategy gamer. This dude constantly... I see stuff pop up on Steam, like, I have literally never heard of that game before, and I look and I'm like, oh, it's a strategy game, makes sense. It's a tactic, like turn-based strategy or like tactics grid-based game. Fair. So he will definitely be having some perspective from that end of things.
This is a step up from kidnapping kindergartners, making them fight for you on the playground.
Is it though? Is it?
A little bit. I'll step up.
I mean,
At least protagonists usually aren't kindergartners.
Uso was pretty fucking close.
Gundam protagonists,
like the youngest, but he's
age-wise, Gundam protagonists are not kindergartners. Personality-wise is a different story.
That's not entirely
Neil's
true.
not a girl's name.
It is, but you should own that. But no, Amuro is very childish as a UC protagonist, although very rapidly grows up from that. Most of the others aren't that bad, actually. If anything,
Judau's fantastic.
Judau is probably the most mature person in his entire series, aside from like Bright.
That's the series who has the most kids, and they're just like, steal that Gundam.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, they are kids they also had a hard life growing up as basically a bunch of orphans on Shangri-La. So
that is very true.
they grew up hard and quick. And Judao Ashita remains as the singular Gundam UC protagonist to cause their main villain to piss themselves. Like, not even an exaggeration. He literally gets so pissed off, his new type aura manifests in injecting fear directly into the lizard brain of Amankar.
Also, I do have to side step another conversation for a second for it. What the fuck's a Fenrir?
No one will fucking tell us, man.
All I know is this one comes at midnight.
It's some kind of weird fucked up Rorschach test as far as I can
That's like
tell.
a raccoon right there.
It's a badger.
Oh, it's a badger. Yeah, it's a badger.
So to ask whatever qualifies as a serious question around here, so Zeonic Front, is this series?
So Zeonic Front was a video game based around the Midnight Fenrir Corps, which were a group of Zeon forces. They were sort of a special forces team among Zeon, who are all noble and actually good guys despite being on the Zeon side.
So
you will come to find as you progress through the vast majority of Gundam 1 Year War sort of stuff, Zeon are just like the Drow. They are a race entirely populated by noble souls rebelling against the evils of their nation.
That's dumb.
How many spiders can you fit in the vagina?
It's a big thing because a lot of times there are actually multiple 1 Year War sort of side stories and games and things like that are told from the perspective of Zeon forces.
Yeah.
And it took a very long time for Gundam to be willing to accept that it was actually okay to have your protagonists not be good guys. So a lot of them do that whole sort of like, they're Zeon, but they're the good Zeon. In this much the same way that, like, honestly, whenever you have the Federation, it's always, well, they're Federation, but they're the good Federation.
I mean, granted, the Federation are no saints even in the original series. But, like...
Well, except for the crew of the White Base, who are the good Federation.
Yes. So Bright and everyone else who follows him.
Basically, that I will say is at least actually a consistent thing for pretty much the entirety of UC Gundam.
If you cleave yourself to Bright, you will always be on the right side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bright is not on the wrong side of any conflict he's involved in.
But compared to their enemy...
Yeah. I mean... So again, that is a thing, just kind of filling in Gundam backstory. This is actually kind of useful having Vince around who's not really as familiar with the further stuff, because it allows us to talk about this stuff. As they moved forward with a lot of UC Gundam, it also became more and more clear that they didn't talk about it a lot during 1 Year War stuff. But as you get further along, you find out, no, the Federation were not actually significantly better than Zeon. The Federation also engaged in chemical weaponry. They also engaged in genocidal acts. They engaged in a lot of really awful shit. So it very much is. There were no good guys in the 1 Year War.
And literally, the Federation treatment of the colonies is why the Principality of Zeon even shows up.
Yeah. So it is like I mean, like, I am not trying to excuse anything Zeon did
poisoning
by
a
any
colony
means.
and dropping on Earth.
Yeah. At the same time, the Federation did a bunch of stuff that was equally as horrendous.
Also, Zeon has the most over-the-top villainous leadership, it seems.
The Zabi family is an entirely separate matter from Zeon, honestly. Like, no, the Zabis are fucking vile, with, like, one exception. But
the leadership of Zeon, pretty much shit across the board. But there are, like, rank-and-file soldiers who literally think that they're fighting to, better themselves because of how shitty the colony.
Colony rights, yeah. Like, it's an independence movement. Is the thing to always remember about Zeon, is it was very much a space colony independence movement, which is why they were able to gain as much power and popularity as they did. Because the colonies were basically literally treated as just like
secondary citizens / resource / let's throw our undesirables there.
Yeah, basically, like, the vast majority of colonies were basically fucking Botany Bay shit. They were like, you people don't get to be on Earth anymore. Fuck off. Like, Earth has limited resources, and they're not for you, filthy peasants.
Pretty much. But keep sending us the resources you get from space.
Yeah. But no, with one exception, the Zabi family during the 1 Year War Zabi family were uniformly fucking vile. Dozel did nothing wrong.
Dozel's mostly fine.
Yeah, Dozel was mostly just a big lug from what
Again, that's something that actually gets expanded upon a lot in sort of extended content, and in particular, you get much more insight into Dozel in Gundam: The Origin.
Yeah.
He is not nearly as stupid as like the original series would kind of have you to believe, just from the small amounts of interaction you see from him. Dozel very much is sort of stuck in this very interesting spot of honestly and truly possessing like an actual like noble hero's soul, but also being like, it's my country and my family, dude. Like, what can I do? Like, honestly,
He is like, what we're doing is kind of fucked up, but I'm not really in a position to do anything about it.
He basically, like, you get a lot, especially in the Origin, you get a lot from Dozel of like, he actually does a lot of work and a lot of effort to mitigate as much as he can of the awful shit that the Zabi family and the Principality of Zeon are doing. But even being a member of the Zabi family, he still is only one man. There's only so much he can do. It's like, he is actually, like, he is the sole exception where I don't fucking roll my eyes at the whole, like, oh no, Zeon is entirely made of, like, noble souls forced into evil acts by, having to serve their nation. It's like, no, Dozel legitimately actually is.
And then, like, if I remember correctly from the Origin, when you actually do the, Solomon gets attacked and he's defending it, like, he stays behind the Big Zam to let everyone else escape.
Yeah, he literally deploys in Big Zam and says, everyone else leave, I will hold them, and launches in the Big Zam. Like, he fucking Benkeis that shit, like.
I also find it amusing that we're playing a video game adaptation of a video game.
Yeah, I mean, that's
what most of this is.
A lot of the 1 Year War stuff in here is actually stuff from various different video games.
Once for this mission, we'll go back through and kind of do a overview of what we've done so far.
Yeah, because it's been a while. But yeah, that's the thing, is that because there are some side story manga and stuff like that, but actually the vast majority of side story stuff for Gundam are actually video games. I mean, they've been making Gundam video games literally since like the Famicom era.
Yep.
In fact, no, this one does not have F90 content, so it does not actually have stuff from. But one of the more commonly retreaded video games, to the point where it's actually currently got an ongoing manga adaptation and like expansion going on right now, is one called Gundam F90, which was originally a Super Godzilla style Super Famicom game of all things.
I mean,
and is insanely popular.
I mean, the original Super Robot Wars, the first one
This was a Game Boy game.
Yeah, it was a Game Boy.
Like original Game
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
And had 3 series. It had Mobile Suit Gundam, Getter Robo, and Mazinger. Not even Mazinger Zeto. Mazinger.
I'm actually legitimately impressed on exactly how far the Game Boy goes from the beginning of its life to the end of its life, technologically speaking. And this is purely from software, pretty much.
Yeah, well, the original Super Robot...
That's not entirely true, because the cartridge lets it put some hardware in, but it's still mostly software.
The original Super Robot Wars game was also actually a fairly early Game Boy game.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, like, Tetris early, but it was in the first, like, I want to say, like, 3 or 4 years of the Game Boy's life.
Yeah.
Which, nowadays, with console generations, doesn't sound like that's early in the lifespan, but yes, as you said...
When you see how long the Game Boy...
It
Game Boy is like one of the longest living consoles.
Yeah, the Game Boy's like actual active lifespan was like 12 years or something like that. Ridiculous. Especially because you can also technically include like the Game Boy Color in that lifespan, because there were only a handful of Game Boy Color exclusive games. It was mostly just an upgraded hardware version.
Yeah, I didn't even bother getting a Game Boy Color.
There
wasn't much of it.
Link's Awakening DX was about the only thing of actual significance that was color exclusive.
That, and I played most of it on Super,
Super Game Boy.
So,
I'm pretty sure I got Game Boy Color as like a present as a kid. But, like, I never had any Game Boy Color exclusive games. It was like, I can play Pokemon on the Game Boy Color, and they're slightly colored.
Yep.
Yeah.
case you can't tell, we really stopped caring about the story of Zeonic Front.
I'll just put it on auto, and we'll get through it as we get through it.
So, as far as I can tell, Zeonic Front is a number of things happening in parallel to the original one movie.
Yes.
Basically, these guys were also here.
Yeah, Zeonic Front is a whole lot of, like, the game of Zeonic Front is a whole lot of, like, well, let's let you play through a lot of, like, the conflicts from, original 0079 Gundam. But we're not going to let you play as the characters you know and care about. We've got you these chuckle fucks from Zeon.
Midnight Badger.
I think this mission is specifically us being sent in.
The Badgers, we're the Badgers.
This is Odessa?
Be a decoy for Jabra.
This is Jabra.
Oh, Jabra, okay. Yeah, basically. Yes, Jabra, that thing where Zeon was able to infiltrate because Char actually dug the tunnels for Jabra.
Yep.
Don't ask questions.
Dug the... Okay, I guess.
Kill the
when you
man
have
with the
giant
shovel.
robots with... Wait.
No. When we're talking about...
That's right. I think I actually saw that part of the origin with you guys.
Yes,
He kills the man with the shovel.
Yeah.
Kills a man who was throwing
Chakras
at him.
With the shovel.
A shovel. Some real jokes.
Sometimes you have ideas for a scene and don't know where to fit it in, so you just kind of clutch it.
No, sometimes you're watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and you want to write a scene for your anime at the same time, and it just kind of bleeds into each other.
But yeah, again, it is unfortunate that Zeonic Front as a storyline is kind of boring as shit, because Midnight Fenrir has one of the best emblems in all of Gundam.
Yes. Pop it up and you're like, what the hell is that?
But yes, none of the characters in Zeonic Front are, like, honestly all that interesting. Like, the stories, again, are mostly just these weird, like, this was also happening shit from One Year War.
Oh, remember this event? These people were also here.
Yeah, take any battle from like real life history and photocopy Private Jimmy into it, like somewhere in the background doing anything.
Private Jimmy was storming the beaches along with everyone else.
Yeah, Private Jimmy was totally there.
It's quite literally the Battle of Normandy. Yeah, it is quite literally the Battle of Normandy.
Also, please don't ask about this guy's name. There's about 15 different translations of it, and none of them are accurate.
In this game, it's Leroy.
Gundam Universe has its own naming conventions.
Gundam Universe is full of sailors.
Eric Schmitzer.
In the Universal Century, we have blended every naming tradition on the planet into a complete mess. A total and complete mess.
Specifically, the guy just kept coming up
Brave
with
Cod.
names that were more and more ridiculous, hoping someone
Okay,
would stop
Brave
him.
Cod is a special instance. Like,
That's an actual quote from I believe that's a quote from an actual interview he gave. They asked, like, what are the origin of the names in Gundam? And his response was, I kept coming up with names that were dumber and dumber, hoping someone would, like, finally say, like, no, that's too dumb a name, you gotta change it. Nobody ever did. He wanted someone to do the George
Matt
Lucas
Austin?
step.
The fuck is this guy?
that was not specifically about 79 Gundam. If I recall correctly, I believe that was specifically being asked about names in Double Zeta. And Tomino was just like, yeah, like, I put that name out there. Like, I never intended to actually name a character that, but then, like, they were like, yeah, no, that's cool. They checked off on it, and I was like, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah. The guy who makes Gundam, or guy who
Tomino.
Tomino, is in many ways like just this crotchety old man who keeps doing what he does.
Well, okay, so he was actually really into it very early on. I mean, obviously, 0079, he had a story he wanted to tell. He made it. A lot of the other stuff, he was fine. First off, one of the things is that
If I remember, the only hitch he had with 0079 is it had to be a little bit more super robot-y than he wanted.
basically,
Hence why I have the meteor hammer. And
yeah. So first off, one thing to establish, Tomino is absolutely bipolar. Like, actual, like, textbook definition bipolar. He is, like, in the sense of, like, what used to be termed as manic depressive, that is what Tomino is, like, straight up. Which is why you end up with insane swing things like Double Zeta, where, like, the first half of Double Zeta is a very different series from the second half of Double Zeta.
Real quick, do we have any special objectives in this mission?
I don't believe so for this one. I think it's only on the last
It's
one.
also an unusual one where you get to sortie right off the bat.
Yeah, I believe it is only the final mission for Midnight Fenrir that we are concerned with at this point as the special one.
You have to take no damage on that.
Launch all the HLBs without them being hit. Yeah. But yeah, so the thing with Tomino is Tomino wants to make what he wants to make, and then occasionally gets. Yeah, can you destroy 10 or more gyms? Keep in mind, the important thing there is
only
that
destroy gyms.
Yeah, the trigger thing is destroying 10 units. So you do have to specifically focus on destroying gyms and leave like the pillboxes and shit alone, and the tanks and all that. Otherwise, we will not get the secret objective. But yeah, so Domino really kind of only wants to make what he wants to make. But unfortunately, because what he makes always invariably ends up being insanely popular, a lot of times the business team forces him to make shit he doesn't want to make, which is how you end up with things like his box quote on the DVD boxes for Victory Gundam telling you not to buy or watch this anime. That one was at a particularly tense time because Sunrise, who he had basically been working with kind of since the inception of the company and was like personal friends with a lot of the leadership of Sunrise and all that, that was the point at which Sunrise had been bought out by Bandai, and so all the leadership kind of changed, and like all the people that he was friendly with and had, 30, 40-year working relationship with were like gone. And so he just stopped giving any fucks. And they were like, no, you're going to make this series and it's going to be this way and da-da-da. And he was like, all right, fine. And basically made a series he had pretty much zero interest in actually making, and then constantly did everything he possibly could to badmouth the series whenever possible.
So that, all right, I will take back my statement. That does inform a lot of what I've heard stuff.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He is absolutely a crotchety old man. Like, that is also true. But yes, the queenly full armor form.
I kind of love it. It's literally just I've unlocked how many option parts? All of them? Okay, slap them onto the same unit.
That is mostly the design philosophy behind Advance of Zeta, honestly. And everything in Advance of Zeta is, okay, how much more ridiculous can we make this Gundam? But yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I am not disputing that Tomino is a crotchety old man. He is absolutely a crotchety old man. It's just his crotchety old manness does manifest in very funny ways a lot of the time. There is actually a manga series. I do not remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is an actual manga series specifically about the making of the original, like 0079 Gundam. And it is one of the funniest manga series you will ever read because, like, it is, like, it's one of those things where, like, constantly scenes will show up in the manga of, like, Tomino showing up and, like, having this wild idea or doing something completely out of the ordinary, like the things that would be, like, completely in line with, like, a 4-koma manga series, a 4-panel manga, like, joke series that is just like, okay, this is totally in line. And then you would hear from people that were there and actually worked on the series and they're like, no, that actually happened. Like, that wasn't made up for the 4-koma manga. Like, no, I remember that exact conversation.
I'm so glad that White Beast was here to help out.
Midnight Fenrir.
Assault job for him.
Yeah, no.
And our good buddy Yazan Gable was here to help out as well.
Tomino is also an absolute fucking artist at making fuck yous to his corporate overlords. So this is veering a little bit off from Gundam, but let's talk about Space Runaway Ideon. So Space Runaway Ideon is another Tomino series. Tomino has actually made quite a number of very popular mecha series. And Space Runaway Ideon was one he made, and it was a TV series, and it had a whole run as a TV series. And Tomino decided, like, okay, that's cool. I finished it off. I'm done. I don't want to make any more Ideon. And they were like, no, you can't do that. Like, Ideon's super popular. We're going to need, like, a movie out of you or something. And so he made an Ideon movie. And it was good. It was fine. And did very well. People were still very excited and wanted more Ideon. And so they're like, you're going to make another Ideon movie. And at this point, Tomino was more than done with Ideon. He was pissed off that he even had to make the one movie, and now they were telling him, like, look, you're going to have to make a second one for us. Like, we need, to give it a blow. But again, he was doing this because, again, he was, like, basically personal friends at this point with a lot of people at Sunrise. And, like, they were basically asking him almost as a personal favor, like, hey, like, we need to do this to, like, fucking make budget for this year, pretty much, kind of shit. And so he's like, fine, I'll do it, but this is the last time I'm touching Ideon. And they were like, I mean, okay, fine, whatever. But he didn't trust them. And so he literally destroys the universe at the end of the second Ideon movie.
Yes.
Literally, like, as in, like, not even like, oh, like, narratively destroys the universe. Space Runaway Ideon, the main robot of Space Runaway Ideon, has a cannon so powerful that every time it fires, it actually causes damage to space itself. And at the end of the second movie, he had basically the cannon had been fired enough that it just obliterated the universe. And Tomino basically did that and then was like, try and make me make more Ideon now, motherfuckers. What is wonderful about this, / terrible, so obviously being a very popular mecha series, Space Runaway Ideon eventually became part of the Super Robot Wars franchise. One of the attacks you have as Space Runaway Ideon is this cannon that causes damage to the fabric of space every time you fire it. In the particular game that Space Runaway Ideon is a major feature within, there is actually a silent tracker. You do not have access to it. It's displayed nowhere on the, screen. It's no stat you have any information about. Once you get within I believe it's like the last 3 scenarios of that game, if you have fired that cannon too much, it is an inescapable game over. If you have used that attack too often, Ideon shows up and it's in one of the little cutscenes where he has to fire the cannon. If you have fired the cannon too much up to that point, you just get a game over because the universe is destroyed.
It is very much that Billy and Mandy moment. You fools! You've messed with the natural order!
Yes.
Which is, to me, utterly fucking hilarious because, again, it is, we are talking easily 40 hours into a video game. Unless you have a save backed up from a few missions ago before you use that cannon X number of times, you're done.
Yeah.
That's your game over. Start over again. Don't rely on the cannon so much this time, you fuckwit.
Perhaps you should go and familiarize yourself with the hit anime Space Runaway before you play again. In box sets now.
I mean, they do make it clear earlier on in the game when they are discussing Ideon. They do mention how powerful the cannon is and the fact that it is not a good idea to keep using the cannon. It's just very funny because that's actually one of the first instances of something like that mechanically being in a Super Robot Wars game.
Right.
There are other instances of things having incredibly powerful weapons, but they never really penalize you for using them or anything. Sakura Gundam. But yeah, no, the Ideon cannon giving you a bad end game over if you use it too much is easily one of the funniest things to have ever happened in a Super Robot Wars game. Because again, it comes out of nowhere. There is no visually tracked stat. There is no warning that this is going to happen other than actually narratively within the game. They basically tell you hey, you really shouldn't fire that cannon too much. But it's not something you expect a game to do. Maybe a Yoko Taro game, but not Super Robot Wars. The whole point of Super Robot Wars is having the Gunbuster fucking Inazuma kick some fucking 3-foot tall monster into paste. What do you mean I can't do my stupidly overpowered thing? There shouldn't be repercussions. This is Super Robot Wars. I cannot help but believe that on some level, part of the agreement to actually get Space Runaway Ideon into that Super Robot Wars game was Tomino insisting that factor into it. I can 100% see Tomino being yeah, I'm fine if you put this anime in your game, put my robots in your game, but you have to include this as a thing that happens. And since all the Super Robot Wars games are effectively made by Bandai, and Bandai really doesn't want to piss off Tomino any more than they already do. This is not like an instance of Square Enix including Nier stuff in Final Fantasy XIV, where Yoko Taro wanted the orbs to hit your character and delete your account.
No, you can't do that.
As much as I would find that hilarious, that's
as one part of one of the Nier raids. There's the section where you like run down these corridors with these orbs firing at you, and like they add vuln stacks and do some damage and stuff like that, and like that's one thing. But according to reports, initially Yoko Taro wanted them to delete your character if they hit you. And when they were like, no, you can't do that, he was like, can they at least instant kill you? And they're like, no. Like, instant kill you and remove you from that raid. They're like, no, you can't do that. It's like, fine. Please let me hit them with a train in the last fight.
All right, fair enough, Mr. Taro.
Only if you also let us hit them with the Square Enix building.
I mean, in fairness, Yoko Taro has made no secret of how he feels about Square Enix. I will remind you that one of the DLC, and I believe it is Nier Automata, adds the CEO of Square Enix as a boss, who shows up and is easily the most evil person in that entire game. Which is saying a lot, because there are some truly fucking vile people in Nier Automata.
That historic moment when White Base and this Gary Base showed up, and the Saikoro Gundam and all this other bullshit killed 10 gems. Truly a historic moment.
I assume you've killed the 10 gems?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's what triggered this cutscene.
No, triggering the cutscene is just destroying 10 units at all. Specifically killing 10 gems is what's going to cause the secret units to spawn in once we're through this cutscene.
It's been a while since I've done
remember, there's always the base objective and then the secret objective. The base objective is just how you trigger the historic moment. The secret objective is always how you get the extra units, which will spawn in. There will be like 3 or 4 of them plus a leader unit. We kill the leader, we can then capture the rest of them and basically get mostly a bunch of free money because they're not going to be anything worth a shit. Like, they are almost always units that should by no means be here. Like, they're going to be stuff from like fucking Zeta era or some shit, but they're still not going to be worth it compared to what we've got. Yes, that is like one of the main Federation antagonists in Zeonic Front, essentially.
Yeah, let's go for new type of Neon Mobile suit. Was it Giant Die?
In total fairness...
Sorry about that. Hit my mic while I was adjusting my glasses.
Yeah. In total fairness, from what I remember the original series, there's a new type of Zeonic mobile suit every, like, 2 episodes.
From the original series, there was a little bit of that, just because, again, it was made in a very Monster of the Week format.
Yeah.
But that was more, it was a new type of suit showing up on screen. A lot of the mobile suits that you see in One Year War, particularly in 0079, aren't actually particularly new. There's a handful of them that are like newer types, but like no, like the goof that you see for Ramba Raw, like that's an established suit that's been around for a while. It just, you mostly see the Zaku 2s, which are the sort of grunt mass production suits, and then things like goofs or DOMs or whatever are much more resource intensive and harder to produce, so there are less of them and they are only given to special units.
And then you have the games that make all sorts of random suits out of them.
Yes, but we don't really... Okay, so the canonicity is technically, yes, it is canon, but it's also like we try not to think too hard about the fact that there were actually like 18 Gundams going around during the 1 Year War.
There was a lot of experimenting with mobile suits on the Federation.
Well, you had
Well, the thing to remember is that
Gundam.
there's... Well, remember, because the actual, the quote-unquote actual Gundam is the RX-7802. Because there was another unit which did technically get destroyed at Side 7. Yep. Then there's the 2. Then there was the Unit 3. Then there was the G3, which is a different suit from the Unit 3, which was a special version of the basically a version of the 78-2 that was being made with like anti-friction coating on the joints to account for the fact that Amuro was actually able to pilot the 78-2 faster than it was mechanically able to hold up to. The G3 never technically got deployed because it never actually made it to Amuro before the 1 Year War actually ended. Then there was obviously 4th Gundam, 5th Gundam, 6th Gundam.
There's 7.
Then there's 7th Gundam. Then there's 3 different Gundam Pixies. Then there's the Alex.
Which is another one developed specifically for Amuro.
But never actually made it to him because literally it was in the testing phases when the 1 Year War ended.
Then there's the ground types.
Then there's all the ground types, which are sort of a half Gundam, half Gym.
Oh, the actual ground types are full-on Gundams, but they're...
Oh, the Gym.
They can use Gym parts.
Yeah. They were... The ground-type Gundams were a intention to try and make a more mass-producible Gundam that wasn't a Gym, essentially. Because the Gyms were obviously the actual mass-produced units based off of the Project V research and, like, technology. But then they were like, well, these are great and work well, but can we make a more powerful mass-produced unit that's actually more on par with, like, the actual 78? And that's where you get the ground types. But they're still... The ground types are still not technically on the same level as the 78-2. They sort of sit somewhere in between the 7. They are still Gundams, yes. But
then you have the Easy 8.
the Easy 8 is explicitly not. It is, but it isn't a Gundam. That one, if anything, is more Gym than Gundam.
Then you have the Blue Destiny 2, Units 2 and 3.
Is Blue Destiny?
Blue Destiny 1 is not a Gundam.
No, Blue Destiny 1 is a Gym.
But 2 and 3 are Gundams.
Yeah, I'm just trying to... God, yeah, Blue Destiny is 1 Year War era.
Yep.
Fuck me.
Yeah, I've already done Blue Destiny, yes.
I just always forget that Blue Destiny is 1 Year War era because the technology involved in Blue Destiny seems like it's way past what should be in 1 Year War.
Technology creep. As we want to release new things in an older era, that older era suddenly develops better and better technology.
To their credit, they have basically said, like, we are not making more 1 Year War media. The actual big thing, one of the big announcements, and this actually, we discussed this a little bit even back before we stopped Genesis last time, because this was a thing that had been announced at that time. But yeah, the big push now is actually what they're calling the UC Next 100 project, which is having a much heavier focus in UC media on things taking place after UC 100.
It's basically post-beautiful.
They basically said, like, honestly, there really isn't any more room for us to put anything in the 1 Year War era without it being utterly fucking ridiculous. And mind you, there's still space for side stories in a lot of other eras. There is some space for, like, more Zeta or Double Zeta era side stories. But at the same time, it is nice to see them focusing a bit more on the more sort of advancement stuff of UC and having that. So... we will still get a little bit of stuff here and there, I'm sure, that's set during the classic UC era, just because it is still very popular, and especially with the classic fans, like, that's the era that a lot of people like. But the major focus is going to be moving forward, which also provides a lot of hope. Somehow, despite, 20 fucking years of this hope being dashed upon the rocks, but there's a lot of hope that we might actually eventually see something from fucking Crossbone.
Hey, it's 6.
When does Crossbone take place story-wise?
Very late. UC 133 is like base. It's like in the 130s for like base Crossbone, and then there's multiple like sequel and side series of Crossbone that take place across a set of years. If you don't accept things that are horrifically non-canon and no, we're not going to fucking talk about them, one of these Crossbone sequel series is the furthest thing we've seen in UC. We are not talking about fucking G-Savior, and we are adding questionable context and canonicity as to whether G-Reco is technically in UC or not. Yeah. Sorry, we get some side commentary from friend of the channel. Ceiling's good, too. Along with he and I are probably the foremost Gundam experts in our group. But yeah, Crossbone Dust, which is the furthest along one, is basically the furthest we have that is unquestionably canonically UC. Technically speaking, G Savior is supposed to take place in a very far forward UC timeline, but G Savior is also fucking awful and we don't acknowledge its existence. And then G Reco is, Gundam Reconquista in G. We just refer to it as G Reco.
I don't know, any excuse to say Reconquista.
Yeah, but G Reco is ostensibly supposed to be, again, sort of far future of the UC timeline, but it's one of those instances where it is so disconnected from the established UC timeline as we know it as to be wholly inconsequential as to whether or not it is actually UC timeline. Like, literally nothing that exists from the UC timeline really makes a difference anymore, so it doesn't really matter whether or not it's UC. And also the other part of that being is that Reconquista in G is supposed to also be tied to Turn A Gundam, and dependent upon who you ask, is either before or after Turn A Gundam. And by dependent upon who you ask, I mean it also means when you happen to ask Tomino whether it's before or after Turn A, you will get a different answer from him, depending on what facts you bring up about why it doesn't make sense for it to be in either place. And that also ties into the whole sort of nonsense of Turn A. I'm not going to go too deep into because quite a number of us have not actually seen Turn A yet, and that is on our list to do as our Gundam watch through for those of us that are taking part in our sort of anime watching stuff. But one of the ideas of Turn A at the time it was made, at least, was to essentially try and unify all of Gundam. Yeah, so Turn A takes place in what's called the Dark Century or Dark Future. And the idea of Turn A is that everything Gundam that was made up until that point actually took place in the same universe over hundreds of thousands of years, and basically just cyclical time looping.
I refuse to believe that G Gundam can take place in any universe but its own.
What happened? Think about it.
Again, this theory, like, this was... Okay, so I shouldn't really call it a theory because that was the stated canonical, quote-unquote, truth of Turn A. How most people reconcile this at this point is that Turn A takes place in its own alternate universe wherein this is true.
Sure.
It's about the only way we can really reconcile it with being actually, like, definitively declared that this is how things went for the backstory of Turn A, while also it not making any fucking sense whatsoever.
So it actually takes place in a universe where all of Gundam media is exactly that, just media. But no,
that would be the Build Fighters universe.
Yeah. But since it's actually post-apocalyptic, they thought this was their actual history, so they just based everything off of it.
It doesn't quite work out because one of the big things about Turn A is that they actually have, like, archaeological digs that they pull out.
Double post-apocalypse, where the first post-apocalypse were just a bunch of fanboys obsessed with Gundam and decided to make their post-apocalypse society into Gundam nonsense, and the second one after they screwed up.
Sure, we'll go with it. But yeah, no, like the prevailing way to make the Turn A thing actually work at this point, that people just sort of generally take as the way it is that Turn A, in and of itself, is its own separate alternate universe wherein all of UC Gundam and the AUs that existed up to that point took place in the history of that universe, but it is not canonical to the individual alternate universes that it purports to, like, put together.
God, he's already dead.
I'm so glad that Char Asman is like the forces up top while Char Asman sneaks into John Wilkins.
Char Asman in his S Gundam.
Yeah, in his signature suit, the S Gundam.
Yeah, it's S. The S stands for.
But yeah, Turn A is... Don't get me wrong, Turn A is actually an incredible series. It is possibly one of the best AU series they've ever made. But you do have to completely disregard the backstory of Turn A.
Oh no, now we have to use the proper means for this mission.
do have to use the proper names for this part.
Well, hell.
I mean, they're fine.
They're all right. They're just not the overpowered monsters that are currently wreaking havoc.
Yes, but we're also putting them up against fucking, like, you know, what, a Type 98s and some gyms.
And the 6th.
Yep. The incomplete Mudrock. It's fine. Yeah, Type 61's over here.
果たして敵の戦力はどの程度のものか。
But yeah, every once in a while, Gundam tries to do something clever and inventive with the future of UC, and everybody just kind of goes, that's fucking dumb, knock it off. And yet they won't give us an anime of the actual good stuff that takes place further along the UC timeline than we've mostly seen, i.e. Crossbone.
Crossbone's a manga, right?
Crossbone is a series of mangas. There's Crossbone, Crossbone Ghost, Crossbone Skull Hearts, Crossbone Steel 7, and Crossbone Dust.
And it's effectively Pirate Gundam, and these are probably some of the best looking Gundams I've seen, honestly.
The designs of Crossbone are fucking gorgeous. They are some of my favorite designs of all of Gundam. But yeah, so Crossbone actually is a sequel series to Gundam F91, which was probably the most maligned animated Gundam thing we have ever gotten. In that F91 was originally supposed to be a series, and then it got downgraded to an OVA, and then it got downgraded to a movie. That being said, it is also probably one of the most beautiful animated things we've ever gotten because they put all of their budget into the animation on it. Because they were like, well, fuck it. If we're not going to get to tell the whole story, we may as well get to tell what story we do get to tell. Make it look really fucking good. So F91 is absolutely gorgeous, but part of the whole thing with F91 is it ties a lot to the Jupiter Empire, which is sort of a kind of background element to a lot of UC Gundam. They're always sort of there, and every once in a while you'll have a character from, initially it's the Jupiter Energy Fleet, kind of hanging around, and they're usually very awful people, and usually perverts, and usually fucking gross, and nobody actually likes them, or at least nobody should like them. Unfortunately, for some reason, Kuve and Shirako have fans. But the whole thing is that
Sexual space vampire.
I'm pretty sure Makuve is. I believe Makuve is also.
That might be something they came up with later. I don't think in the original or in the origin they talk about from the.
I'm not sure about Makuve, but Shirako is definitely
Shirako.
a sexual space vampire.
But yeah, the point is that eventually, over time, the Jupiter Energy Fleet essentially declares its own independence and declares itself the Jupiter Empire rather than the Jupiter Energy Fleet. And because they're out all the way at fucking Jupiter, nobody gives a shit, and they're just like, fine, whatever, you're Jupiter Empire now. You know, furious jerking off motions.
That's a gun tank, isn't it?
That is a gun tank,
Yes.
That is tank.
No, sorry, that's right. Makuve is not part of the Jupiter Energy Fleet. I always forget about that because he was in charge of a major like energy mining operation.
Yeah.
And has purple hair like a lot of the Jupiter people do.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. Makuve is weird. He's not Jupiter Fleet. He just likes faces. Pauses.
But yeah, so they declare themselves the Jupiter Empire, and then there's like a whole thing, and a lot of clones and genetic manipulation are involved in all this. And again, not going to go too deep into it because, like, in at least one of the games we're going to play, they do talk a lot more about the actual storyline of Crossbone Gundam, so I'm not going to cover too much of it. But the basic idea is that there's this group called the Crossbone Vanguard, which in Gundam F91 are actually the enemies. But by the time of Crossbone, the characters from F91, having basically defeated the Crossbone Vanguard at that time, essentially co-opted their whole shtick and became the Crossbone Vanguard, and now are basically mobile suit space pirates who do nothing but hassle the fuck out of the Jupiter Empire.
I'm so glad that our buddy.
Also,
Amuro
really,
is here
declaring
to help
yourself
his buddy
empire is
Char
pretty much
assemble.
declaring yourself bad guys at a certain point. We are Team Evil people.
I would love to tell you that the Jupiter Empire would not think of themselves that way, but I'm pretty sure they relish in being evil. I kid you not, part of the, plan of the Jupiter Empire is I built these 8 identical giant mobile armors that all intentionally operate off of dirty nuclear reactors, and now I'm going to send them on Earth and cause them to detonate to horrifically irradiate the planet to make it unlivable, so that everybody who survives this nuclear apocalypse has to leave Earth so they can have time to heal.
Right, yeah. That's Captain Planet levels of villainy.
Yeah.
And yet, somehow, not nearly as stupid a plan as the antagonist, villain group from a series that takes place shortly thereafter has, which involves using the psychic resonation of thousands of minor psychers. So, not full-on new types, but people that have, some degree of psychic resonance. Get them all in pods on a big space station called the Angel Halo. Centralize all their focus onto one particularly powerful new type to then send waves of mental energy at Earth to infantilize everybody living there.
Why?
It is not.
What's that last?
It is not entirely clear because again, Gundam goes into weird sort of metaphorical stuff. It is not entirely clear if it only means to mentally regress them to the mental state of babies or actually physically revert them to babies.
New type power, so could be
Either one is possible. If you have ever heard me talking, Vincent, about the Angel Halo, this is what that is.
Was there more to that plan, or were they just doing something because they could?
The general idea was that people, if you infantilize them and put them either mentally into the state of being babies or physically reverting them to babies, again, not entirely clear, they will no longer be able to wage war.
I mean, technically correct, but
they did not think this through any further than that.
As an aside to this conversation, I would like to inform our users we have now finished the first turn. I'm sorry, we have finished the first player turn. This is the first enemy turn.
the enemy is doing a great job of getting themselves killed, it seems.
Yep.
I mean, that's typically, you get way more counter kills in these games than you do active kills. That's just how it goes.
We've been doing a lot of regular kills as is.
Yeah, but just by its nature, because every enemy you get effectively unlimited counterattacks as long as you have the energy to do them, whereas you only get one active attack unless you kill the enemy and get a press turn. So you typically end up getting a lot more kills on counters than you do on active attacks. Unless you hilariously outclass the enemy and can one-shot them.
Yeah.
Which, granted, a lot of our units can. But yes, suffice to say, for all that, for the most part, UC Gundam series do tend to be actually very interesting thematic treatises on sort of the impact of war on people, both soldiers and civilian, and have a lot of interesting things to say a lot of the time. Storylines also do get goofy as shit. Victory Gundam, the same series that has that whole infantilization plot, also has one of the enemy commanders who is obsessed with the romanticization of motorcycles to the point where he creates giant battleships that look like motorcycles.
Yes.
And when he dies, he flies off into the sunset as a ghost on a motorcycle to a cabin in the afterlife.
Octagonal cabin.
Octagonal cabin in the afterlife, where he can peacefully ride his motorcycle for all eternity.
Yeah, the formula.
Rest in peace, Dukerick. Rip to a real one.
Yep.
Oh yeah, also his name is Dukerick. D-U-K-E-R, last name Ick. I-Q.
So, as a general
Was this the
rule-
point where he was just making shit up and seeing what they would take?
Oh, this was well past that. Victory Gundam, again, is the series that literally on the box quote from Tomino about Victory is, do not buy or watch this series.
So, in general, as you go down the timeline of UC Gundam, it starts to be less and less about... It doesn't stop being war as hell, but it starts being war as hell, and increasingly so, wizards. With magic.
It also increasingly becomes more and more Tomino going, war is hell, but you shit stains aren't listening to me anyway, so fuck it. Bikini Bazooka Squad.
Wear this, it will distract him.
Tomino is really upset that people like Xeon,
Yep.
considering they are a not-so-subtle analog of imperialist Japan.
Yes.
Like, Tomino just gets very frustrated that people have entirely missed the point of his series constantly. And so, past a certain point, stopped trying. It was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just do whatever ridiculous shit I feel like and see what sticks. God, you know what's going to be one of the best parts of when we eventually get to Overworld?
What's that?
It's going to be on an emulator, so we're going to have a fast forward button.
Oh, God, that would be so useful.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I have not seen this kind of shit take place in Overworld pretty much since I began playing it. Because anytime my turn starts, I just hold down the fucking fast forward button because I'm like, yes, I have parts on literally every unit in my team that restores like 10% of energy and 10% of HP every turn. So it goes through all like 18 units I have on the fucking field and does that one by one. I'm just like, nope.
Glad to see they keep track of time in this universe via the turn system.
Yes, turns are quote unquote minutes. Or hours, or whatever narrative time unit you need to measure. Most of the time, if it's tied to like an actual mission objective, it is regarded as quote-unquote minutes. Like, you have 5 minutes to do this, which means get it done in 5 turns. Which, I mean, works out honestly really well as a like a way to narratively express the objective limits.
Is it get gauge?
Yes, again, all I was actually explaining this to Vince before stream. So guess
We're not going to max his get gauge. But yeah.
no, we also don't care. It's a fucking dom. But yeah, so to remind any viewers that are watching this that may not remember, guest units in any given scenario, rather than getting experience for kills, increase their get gauge. If we max out their get gauge, we basically get the ability to get that unit. We typically don't do this very often unless either A, it's incredibly easy to max out a get gauge, or B, it is a specific thing we definitely want, like when we ground out the second mission in the game multiple times to get white base. Because white base is pretty much the earliest access you have to a warship that has 2 slots for mobile suit teams.
2 slots and also space and...
Yes, it is
So
2 slots.
usable on
Yeah, it is two slots, usable in space and air, and also unlocking white base also unlocks your ability to get Bright as a commander, and he is pretty much the best commander in the game, like by default stats and abilities.
I assume his only rivals are Bright and possibly Bright.
The only other one that's even comparable, realistically, is one of the stupid bonus pilots that is basically the bosses from Overworld.
Yeah.
Because they start with a flat 200 in all stats. Like, they have a flat 200 in all stats. There's one of them that is, like, melee combat focused, one of them that is ranged combat focused, and then one of them that is essentially, like, command focused. that is worth remembering too, since it's been a while since we played this, is capture is still available even after a unit doesn't have any active turn left for the turn.
Yeah, they cast capture before they move.
Yeah. But yeah, they are explicitly still allowed to capture even after even if they don't have another activation that round.
Yep.
Which is particularly important for warships.
Yes, you can move warship up to things and capture it.
Also, one of the reasons why, so the way that Overworld works is a little bit different in that as you phase through the different like sort of rounds of scenarios in Overworld, you get to pick master characters from the list of basically all the sort of protagonists and antagonists of all the series that are in the game, and you basically get them as a free pilot and get the like unit associated with them. So even if the V Gundam weren't like stupid powerful and Uso weren't actually a really good character, I also would have like immediately picked Uso because his first actual active skill as a master is free capture, which is just capture every capturable thing on the board.
Nice.
So a lot of times when I'm playing through stuff in Overworld, I will just leave everything capturable just sitting around until I have reached essentially the end of the scenario where like everything that could be captured is already in a capturable state, and then I just pop free capture and I don't have to fuck around with like maneuvering shit around to where I can get it. Which is also important because if I remember correctly, there's not anything equivalent to the Sealant Launcher in Overworld. So the only things that can capture are warships and master units, because master units do have the inherent ability to capture in Overworld, but it is just like outright, like, those are the only things. You can't just do like we do where we put Sealant Launchers on just about everything so that they have like a 3-range capture.
Yeah.
God, I can't wait for us to be out of this Relic front so I can actually start caring about the story again.
Enemies are loud.
Remember, you can check the list. Hit the button on a blank space and then go to lists. Or no, not lists. Show info. No, there's one of these that actually lets you see what armies are on the field.
Might just be the two of them. Yes, this one behind us. It's definitely just the two of them.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how to get to it in the menus through this, but there is absolutely a way to see the remaining armies. Surprise!
We're here to help!
Well,
Fucking Agar and the Mudrock is like, is that a fucking dice? What level do we have the Mark IV at? 3. Not quite there yet.
So one of the things that I like about the Super Robot games that I don't think appears in any of these is the existence of the skill Excel.
Yeah, no, there's nothing comparable
Gives you
to
3 extra points of movement.
Yeah, the G-Gen does not have anything comparable to itself. Your move is what your move is. There are a couple option parts that increase that, and that's about it.
the hell did that transform into?
Like 3 different units.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Sea Attacker, the G Bomber,
Okay, so it's 3 planes that transform
that all combine
into
to a single gun.
Gundam.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a number of ones. So the double Zeta is actually like a combining mobile suit, and things past that point, it was not an uncommon thing for there to be like combining mobile suits that sort of come together from various parts. technically speaking, the 78 is sort of like that in the sense that it does have
The core fighter.
it has
Yeah,
the
it
core
has
fighter,
yeah.
but it's like each part of it is not an independent unit, whereas like the Zeta and the double Zeta and stuff moving forward from that point, it was more common for there to be suits that were actually comprised of multiple actual vehicles that sort of combined together. Most of the time, all but one of them is some sort of like autonomous or remote controlled thing. It is very rare for there to be an instance where it actually has to be manually piloted. Most of them are capable of being manually piloted, but their default is having it be in some way automated. Some reminders for the defensive phase of stuff. The primary difference between defend and evade. Defend does not reduce your chance to be hit, but significantly reduces the damage you take, and also prevents you from losing morale status from actually being hit. Whereas evade increases the likelihood to not be hit, but if you are hit, you just take full damage.
Yep.
And counter does not actually do anything for you defensively one way or another, but allows you to strike back assuming you survive the hit. Yeah, we get it. It's fine. Psychoro Gundam's down here. The what?
Psychoro Gundam. Fall back so you don't die, because I'm pretty sure you die. Impressive.
You can check conditions, but yes, I am pretty sure that regular conditions.
Okay,
Anything? No. Yeah, he doesn't care. Oh no, yeah, he
He's a
does.
key unit.
Yeah, that's right. It's on the
all,
unit,
all
not the
of them
pilot.
are key units.
Yeah, it's on the mobile suit pilot.
Thanks for giving me stuff down here to kill so I can press turn up.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You get him, Jims. It's like a 45-meter tall dice with a Gundam head. What the fuck are we supposed to do? Use that energy gun.
You know what? I quit.
We already captured all the secret units.
Yep.
Okay, so we're good. Just fucking end mission whenever we feel like, basically.
Yeah, they're all up top. Up top is entirely clear.
I just wasn't sure if we actually had captured them all. If there was some still that we needed to maneuver around to. Cool. Oh boy, we got a level on Sakura gun that we don't really care about.
More energy. Woo.
Is Psychoro Gundam a Gundam you're just keeping, or is it?
Psychoro Gundam is one we keep around because the only stuff we could actually turn Psychoro Gundam into at this point, we already have other stuff that we can turn into. That we would much rather lose than Psychoro Gundam, because Psychoro Gundam is very expensive to buy now that we have a production list, and not particularly easy to actually develop stuff into. We mostly keep it around so that Shiv's character has something to pilot in missions that are not space up until we get the Minovsky craft, at which point we'll probably ditch the Sakura Gundam.
Yeah, once we get it Minovsky craft, all that's fine.
Yeah, because the Deep Striker is a space-only unit, but if you put a Minovsky craft on it, it also makes it air-capable, and then the game stops being a challenge of any sort on anything below, like, Inferno difficulty.
Return to this ship that you're basically the size of.
It's strapped to the bottom.
It's also not wholly accurate scaling. Like, most of the warships, as you see them in this game, are actually scaled down way further than the mobile suits are.
That makes sense, I would. Yeah, the mobile suits are effectively the chibi-ified versions.
I mean, everything in here is a sort of an SD version. It's just that an SD is not super noticeable on something like a warship.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's why it is SD Gundam G Generation Genesis. They are all super deformed.
That makes sense.
Oh, one page too far away.
Just have to blow up that gym.
Excuse me.
Don't mind me, just blowing up your battleship.
Only hit for 70,000.
Pinpoint and attack boost.
Take that, white base ripoff.
One of the numerous Pegasus class warships they had before.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's actually less of a... That's less of a bullshit thing than there being like 20 different Gundams. The white base was actually just a Pegasus class warship. There weren't a ton of them, but there were at least like 4 that were like even. They even talked about like 2 others of them in 0079.
Which makes sense. You don't make a design of a warship that immediately
Make
throw it away.
only one and nothing else with them.
Well, the idea, I mean, the whole thing with the Pegasus class was the new warship design during the series of 0079 because it was the first warship the Federation had designed that was specifically designed to carry mobile suits.
Yeah. And it also makes sense there's so few of them, considering this tends to be give or take based off like kind of World War II-esque warfare.
Yeah.
And like a capital ship of any sort or a carrier takes like 2 or 3 years to build effectively.
Yeah, exactly. They were still producing more Pegasus class warships at the time. It's just at the time of like 0079, they had made, I want to say 3, or how many are exactly at the start of 0079.
Like
By the end of the 1 year war, I want to say there were like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And then they basically just kind of evolved that design as time went on, which is why you get stuff like the Argama and the Rock Column, which are all the Argama, the Nail Argama, the Rock Column, which are all basically just further developments on the Pegasus style. Which again, in theory, at some point we could potentially pick up another one of the sort of like Pegasus style.
Hey, look, some characters not going to use.
Yeah, right. We could pick up another Pegasus style warship to replace the carry base because, like,
So now we're actually out of mission. We'll go back to the very start. So,
Mobile Suit Gundam. This is obviously the original series. This is 0079. Mobile Suit Gundam MS Igloo is a side series set during the 1 year war. There's Igloo and there's Igloo 2. Base Igloo is a series of small, like, sort of OVA episodes that were focused around a Xeon secret weapons development team. And basically each episode is focused on a different, like, ridiculous weapon that Xeon was in development on, and they were all doing the testing, and you got the various stuff. So you had things like the big fucking giant space cannon that could fire once and then basically burned itself out. You had the idiot tank. You had the mobile suit that moved so fast that it literally shook itself apart.
So this is effectively the German Wunderweapon program of the series.
Yes. We strapped a satellite laser to the dick of this underwater mobile suit as a counter to, this is when Xeon had basically already lost the ground war, and so the Federation forces were taking off into space. And they basically came to this conclusion of like, well, we have all these like dive mobile suits that are no longer going to be of any use because the war is coming to space. But the one last thing we can do for them is that it's actually remarkably similar diving through atmosphere as diving to, subaquatic. And we're just going to strap a giant satellite laser to the dick of one of these things and try and blow up some warships as they make it for atmosphere.
The best place to shoot down warships is when they're launching because they can't properly defend themselves.
Yeah. So they basically, this guy is falling through the air with this giant satellite laser, trying to blow up Federation warships as they make for atmosphere. And then there's this fucking thing.
I think we still have one.
We might. Just one of the many ludicrous.
Giant-ass weird
Does
support.
that have like triangle crab claw
It's got
arms
big
coming out of
crabs.
it?
For gripping people.
Now, granted, this is a dumb tank. This actually worked.
Except for the fact that you get like one shot.
Well, they didn't got more than one shot. It used like actual ammo cartridges and had a bunch of plasma cells to basically burn themselves out during fire. But it was able to basically one-shot a Magellan-class warship.
Yeah.
It just never got moved past anything further than this development because bubble suits.
Yeah, basically.
And then the Zudas were fine as long as you didn't go too fast.
Yeah.
If you went too fast, they explode.
But considering the fact that the whole point of the Zuda was that it was supposed to be so the Zuda was basically when the Zaku became adopted as the general like grunt mobile suit of the Zeon forces. The Zuda was one of the other ones in contention from a rival company. And the problem with the Zuda is that if it moved too fast, it shook itself apart. So the Zaku got adopted, and then later on, the company said, "Oh, we worked out the kinks in the Zuda," and then through the testing phase, Oliver May, who is the main character of Igloo, realizes they didn't actually make any changes to this. This is literally the same unit. They just attached like an F to the end of the designator to pretend that they moved it from the 006 to the 009 to pretend that it's a new build when it is actually just exactly the same Zuda. And they're just saying, no, there's no problems with the Zuda ever. It's fine. It's totally fine. And then the dude who's pushing for it shakes himself apart because he goes too fast. 8th MS team, 1 year war Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's a ground forces, Federation forces battle.
That's where the ground Gundams are from, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what the are.
And the Easy 8. Cross Dimension 0079. So again, this is actually another video game. This is where the Gundam Pixie is from. This is again based around a Federation unit. This one is actually part of the purpose of this is they are actually trying to transport the Pixie to get to Amuro Ray, because the Pixie is again one of the 45 different Gundams that were designed specifically to match to Amuro Ray's specifications. This one in particular is a close combat specialized one because they realize that Amuro is actually really good at close combat because of his reaction times and like his general speed. So the Pixie is equipped with beam kunai and submachine guns.
Sure.
Which make it a close combat unit.
Yeah.
And that's a game set around, again, primarily ground combat during the 1 year war, in a special unit that basically comes under assault from a Special Forces Zeon unit, and one of their members has to man the Pixie and do it. But again, there are 2 other Pixies as well.
That's also the first appearance of the Ifrit.
It is the first appearance of the Ifrit.
We'll see a couple different Ifrit variants.
Yep. Blue Destiny, what if we put the soul of a new type in a computer and forced it to pilot a Gundam with people?
That sounds like a terrible idea.
It is.
It is.
Also, they had that technology in 79?
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, they had that
And if we're being clear, the new type whose soul they shoved in the Blue Destiny isn't actually dead. She's just in a coma. And she does wake up and get really pissed off at people at the end of it.
Yeah, unsurprisingly.
weren't new types theoretical in 79? Or at least beginning of it?
The Principality of Zeon pretty much knew they existed. Like, that was Zeon Zumdaikun's whole thing.
Yeah.
Was he was basically like, new types are a real thing. Like, you need to acknowledge this. And the Federation was like, that sounds like a bunch of hooey bullshit.
And the Federation, like, we need to acknowledge this, but we're also going to make a bunch of suits specifically for our new type pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including one we designate the
NT1.
NT for new type 1.
Yeah.
Which is what the Alex was.
So yeah, there's the Blue Destiny, Rise from the Ashes.
Also, Blue Destiny, one of the first things, a great tradition of building 2 Gundams and having
Having one get stolen, yes. Rise from the Ashes is focused around a Federation unit called the White Dingoes. They are one of basically 4 operational units in Australia, the fucked to death Dust Bowl remnants of the colony. You know, so because again, the colony got dropped on fucking Sydney, basically.
Yes. Turning Sydney into the rest of Australia.
Turning Sydney into a hole in the fucking ground where the ocean comes in. Like, literally, there's actually a huge chunk of Australia missing on the map. Like, the colony drop actually obliterated roughly a quarter of Australia. But yeah, the White Dingoes...
And somehow made Australia less of an era husband.
Yes. But yes, the White Dingoes are one of 4 Federation units operating out of Australia, all of which are named Color and Australian Animal. No, I'm not kidding. But Yeah,
I mean, at least they have a naming scheme.
Rise from the Ashes, I believe, again, was another video game, if I
That's
remember
another
correctly.
video game. It's where the fucking rhinoceros appears. which
Yeah.
is
That-
really, really big dump tank.
So that actually seems like a legitimately good place to set a video game. Considering.
It was actually Rise from the Ashes is actually a really good game. Most of the Gundam games are actually pretty solid. But yeah, so that was Rise from the Ashes.
But I mean, it's a good place to tell a side story because you don't really have to worry about anything that went on there.
yeah, and then here we are in Zeonic Front.
Yeah,
Which Zeonic Front is. Yeah, so like we saw there, we got the flip side of a story we're actually going to get to later on.
because of course we have more 1 year more after it as well.
yeah. No.
Oh no, we still do. Yeah.
Last War Chronicles is after that.
So Lost War Chronicles is actually somewhat of a compilation game.
Yeah.
There are 2 of those we're going to get to because there's Lost War Chronicles and then there's also Missing Link, which is technically part of Lost War Chronicles,
Part of it,
but it's also Missing Link is the major part of Lost War Chronicles, so they kind of have it divided up because like Lost War Chronicles covers the.
They did a big like compilation game that had a bunch of side story stuff, which had Lost Chronicles, had Space Beyond the Blaze, and then they added Missing Link to it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but that game itself was also just like called Lost War Chronicles. So Lost War Chronicles, this is most of the other Lost War Chronicles stuff. Space Beyond the Blaze is separated into its own thing, and then Missing Link, which gets its own thing because it's again like a whole story in and of itself.
Yeah, it actually takes place both during 79 and after Double Zero.
Yeah. So those are all video game stuff, and then 0080 is the last 79 thing we have to do, which technically takes place at the very end of 0079. Like literally the last episode of 0080 is New Year's Day 0080.
Yeah.
And we'll finally after that get to post
Weird shit.
1 more.
Yeah.
Still, Battlefield Record 0081 still baffles me. Yeah. Yeah, we are on to the last Fang.
Mission 4 of 4 for the series.
I believe this one might have 5. That's actually what I'm pulling up right now to pull up my list. This one is also ground.
Yeah, this
Okay.
one is also ground. Yeah, the
And I don't
entire
think-
Zeonic Front takes place
Yeah,
on planet, so
And I also don't think we got anything to what we want to develop.
Oh, I didn't even check. Oh,
I think we'll still have a chance. I think we can go to the war room from the deployment screen.
貴重なモビルスーツ隊をすりつぶしただけの結果となったし
Reference sheet here.
だが最も冷静に見ればこの失敗がジオン軍の軍事力に致命傷となったわけではない皮肉な話だが投入した戦力が過小であったために失われた戦力も小さかったわけである
I know Super Robot Wars has all kinds of issues with localization, but I think these ever actually been localized.
No. Crossrays. Crossrays got a US release.
Okay.
Or like the SD games or all these side stories?
The SD games.
Okay.
As far as G-Gen, Crossrays is the only one that's actually got an official North American release.
Yeah.
It's not licensing issues, it's more they didn't think anyone would be interested. Honestly. Like,
For those,
yeah.
the closest we ever got, I believe some of the After Century, or the ACE games, I think like 2 of them got US releases, but like nobody... I know at least one of them did, but nobody bought it. Yeah, no, one of the PS2 ones did. Almost certain. At least I saw it in a GameStop, unless they got an import.
Some of the side story stuff came out, like the recent big side story collection one. It's on like PS4 out here. You can get that.
Yeah, all I know, if it didn't get a US release, then the GameStop got a weird fucking import of an ACE game.
We only get the best games over here, like Gundam.
Okay, no, this is the last one.
You mean the game you absolutely refuse to sell to people?
I worked at Game Crazy and I refused to sell that game to people.
Literally hid it behind other games to
A
make
kid
sure it
asked
was
about it and I
invisible?
said, no, you don't want to buy that. And I got upset and went off.
Okay, so we actually technically have 3 quests we can complete off of this mission. One of them is going to be automatic because it's just clearing the mission. Gets us Nicky Robert and Charlotte Happener. If we have Garrett defeat Agar with his Zaku 1's Rakuten Bazooka, that's a quest, and that gets us Agar that we can recruit as a pilot. And then the one that we specifically want to do is for the gold mod, which is the launch all HLVs without them taking a hit. Yeah, this is, I believe, the
連邦
last
軍の大規模
Gothic
艦
front
隊
mission.
が空に展開すれば、ジオン軍の制中権も失われて
And
しまうだろう。
if it's not, this is fleeing the
空
planet.
と
So
の
if
連
there's a
絡
fifth
を
mission,
断
it's
たれ
gonna
た
go
地上
real
のジ
quick.
オン軍に未来は
Yeah.
ない。それは北米大陸
Fifth
の
mission,
占領
try
は
not to die.
生存することさえ
But yeah,
難しい。
Crossrays is the first SD Gundam G-Gen game that actually did get an official North American release. It is becoming more common now. It's looking like Bandai does have much more interest in releasing these games US because, again, Super Robot 30 also got an official US release and was, like, for like a month and a half, the best-selling game on Steam.
I think they've realized that. Oh yeah, no, people will actually buy these games and like them.
連日連夜打ち上げ
Yeah,
られる
like the Super Robot Warriors games do still have somewhat of a rights nightmare in the US, but less and less so as the anime industry here has also sort of condensed down to like 3 companies.
多くの資材や人材が次々と空へ向けて打ち出され、ジオン軍は
And
地球から大
let's
規
be
模な
real
撤
here,
退を
like
決定した。
of those 3 companies, at least 2 of them would just be like, are you fucking kidding me? Yes, please. Like, I guarantee you the CEO of Discotech has played every Super Robot Wars game.
それらもまた
Yeah.
Like,
順次
that dude is possibly the biggest weeaboo in existence.
反攻作戦の一環としてこの
Like,
キャリフォルニアベース
it is a fucking racing struggle who is a bigger nerd, the dude who runs Discotech or fucking Sean from Right Stuff.
すでにキャリフォルニアベースの実情は最後の HLV の打ち上げが終了するまで連邦軍の進撃を抑えることができない状態だった
Just because the guy at Right Stuff decided to make a shell company so he
闇
could
夜
buy
のフェン
anime
リル
stuff.
隊への
Not even so he could buy anime.
That's right, so buy-
It was specifically so he could license Irresponsible Captain Tyler
Yeah.
and get that a US release.
Yep.
それらを守り抜く
Because that is his favorite anime of all time. And he looked at it and he was like, nobody's ever going to license
フェ
this.
ンリル隊しか考
Fuck
え
it.
られなかった
And has pretty much that's what launched them into making anime that is literally stuff no one else wants.
Pretty much. Although,
Yeah.
I mean, over time it's grown. They're the ones with the Gundam license now in the US.
Yeah. There's
Or
a
at least-
difference
or at least,
between
like, the
no
distribution
company.
license.
Yeah, there's a difference between no company wants it and no one wants to watch it. Those are 2 entirely separate things.
Yeah.
Basically, no one wants to take a chance on it, but that's different than
It is just incredibly funny.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where if you've been an anime fan for a significant length of time, it is very funny to see the progress of companies such as Right Stuff, which started off as like a bargain basement online store and had the license to Tyler, and that was basically it.
Yeah.
And then gradually they've grown to the point where, again, they are now like the distributor for Gundam in the US, which is fucking insane. Likewise, Crunchyroll, which started as a streaming site for fan subs.
So, Right Stuff is even funnier in the sense that they actually started as a shell company in order to buy
Yes.
telescopes through.
Yes, telescopes, yes. But yeah, or like Crunchyroll, which literally started as an aggregator site to be able to stream anime fan subs,
Yeah.
and then got bought by fucking Animego of all companies, which was like the first step towards legitimizing them, and now are basically one of the sole remaining anime streaming sites in existence.
It's like them
And High Dive.
and High Dive. Technically,
Amazon still has like their anime
Am-
stuff, but
Amazon gets some stuff, and Netflix gets some stuff.
yeah, but like the 800-pound gorilla of anime streaming is Crunchyroll, especially because, you know, the whole Sony thing. They got bought by Sony. Sony already owned Funimation, and now they have just like essentially dissolved Funimation as a streaming service and combined that with Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
It is now basically like Funimation, as I understand, will still exist as the actual like licensing and distribution company for the actual anime
But all the
itself,
streaming
but all the
stuff
streaming is done through Crunchyroll. Like, there is no longer Funimation streaming, which is awesome because now I can watch through the dub of Dragon Ball for like the 40th time because I can't. Anytime I am reminded that the dub of Dragon Ball is accessible, I will watch the dub of Dragon Ball because that is still one of the best dubs of anime we've ever gotten.
Arms straight behind. I'm gonna stay behind too.
So as a reminder, because again, it's been like 2 years, this is the flip side of a mission we've basically already done, because the final mission of the White Dingoes scenario is fucking up the HLVs as Zeon try and flee the Earth.
Ah.
Yeah, last mission is they're trying to get away. Let's shoot them all down.
Yeah, that is the one where the Rhinoceros is fielded, and the like special mission for that one was defeat the Rhinoceros and all HLVs within 5 turns.
Yep.
Whereas now our mission is basically the HLVs will take off after a certain amount of time. We have to stop them from getting hit at all.
I appreciate the rhinoceros in this too. So,
You only get one version of the Rhinoceros in this game. There's actually 2 versions.
Yes, you do not get the A and the B.
Because the one we get is the Rhinoceros B, which has the big artillery cannon on it.
Yes.
There's basically, in the actual like game that the whole scenario takes place from, there's a point where you basically get to choose whether or not to let a train with a bunch of like Zeon, like injured people and whatnot who are basically trying to escape the area. You basically have the option of, no, fuck it, shoot the train, or let them go. If you let them go, it turns out they were also transporting a battleship cannon on the train
For the Rhinoceros.
for the Rhinoceros, which then they used to stick on the Rhinoceros. You had to fight the Rhinoceros A during the final mission. The Rhinoceros with a fucking battleship cannon on it.
Yeah. It is a moral choice you are given that I don't think actually has any repercussions if you decide to blow up the fucking train.
Yeah, if you blow up the train, you just fight the Rhinoceros B.
Yeah.
Like
There's no actual
it's this
downside
weird,
to
like,
blowing
if
up
you
the train
blow up the
other than
train,
feeling bad.
It's like, oh, you killed a bunch of like injured like people who are just trying to flee. But at the same time, they were also smuggling weapons on the train, so it's kind of like,
yeah.
Yeah, you know that thing that Gideus accused them of doing in 8th MS team, even though they fucking weren't? But that's because Gideus is a colossal prick.
I mean, both sides in 8th MS team were pieces of shit because the Federation side was, gee, it should be terrible if we sent our mobile suits in there and purposely had their reactors explode, right? Because we're not allowed to use nukes.
Yeah, I mean, that shit is awful.
We used a power bomb. It's certainly not a nuke.
Yeah, I mean, that still is shitty. I will grant you that. But it is not, hey, these ships are transporting wounded. No, they're smuggling weapons. Blow them up.
That's not what Gideus did. That was the Federation forces.
Was it? That's right.
Yes,
that was a sniper. That's right.
That was
that's
the
right.
Jim sniper that shot down the fucking medical ships.
That's right. That was them shooting down the Zeon medical ships.
Those
I got
were
that backwards.
legitimately injured people. There were not weapons on
Yeah,
those
no, there
ships.
weren't. No, there weren't. God, that's right. I forgot.
The Federation, like, leader superiors in that one are absolute garbage.
That's right. No, Gideus just didn't need any justification for what he did. He was just a fucking dickbag.
The one good thing Gideus does is when he kills the guys
immediately fucking lances the headquarters with the beam up the Opserus.
When they're sitting there looking at the fight like, aw, shit. Nothing of value is lost.
It's like the first fucking shot he takes, too. He's just like, behold my death testicle. Like, well, that's a big fucking mobile. Oh, fuck me.
Because you basically had, like, the one, like, minor officer who was like, we can't shoot down a medical ship, guys. That's fucked.
Do it.
Also, now that we shot down the medical ship, try and shoot down Shiro Robotics. He's an asshole not listening to my orders. Shoot down our own forces. Fuck them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go another one, man. Like, shy of the Titans, I would say 8th MS probably has some of the most heinous Federation leadership in a series.
The leadership at the end is just like, oh my god. They're one of the prime examples of, oh no, people are shitty on both sides.
Like Bascom and the Titans are way worse, but like Bascom and the Titans are literally styled after the fucking ship Stoffel.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you just had really, really, really shitty command in the not Vietnam area.
Yeah. God, no, it's been so long since we watched 8th MS. I actually forgot that it was Zeon ships transporting medical soldiers. That's right, because it was when they were evacuating the mountain base.
Yeah. It's also why they sent out Norris Packer to destroy the gun tanks, because they were worried about the gun tanks
shooting down the ships. Yeah.
But he went out first, destroyed the gun tanks. They could safely launch their wounded medical ships,
and then they took him out with the Jim sniper.
Just fucking assholes. And Gideus was also shitty. He blew up a room full of his own people grenades.
I mean, okay, let's be fair though. They kind of fucking deserved it.
They were just like the people who helped them develop
They're people developing special weapons for Zeon. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they deserved it. Like, don't get me wrong, Gideus was outright worse than any of them. But they weren't good people. Let's be clear on that one.
Genius does get a fantastic death in that series.
Also, that particular scene was fucking beautiful because they were there celebrating the completion of the Obsolus, and he just hucks a grenade into a champagne glass. And then it goes off and they all die.
All the shitty people get great deaths in that series. A Federation officer gets annihilated by a laser, and Ginius gets punched by a mobile suit.
Yes.
Not like his mobile suit gets punched.
Like
fist
cockpit
through
open.
the cockpit.
Yeah.
Absolute paste.
He was the most like a Shrike out of all of us.
I'm not gonna lie. So the last mission I did in Overworld, the like final break point when new people show up is Victory Gundam stuff, but it's like very tail end Victory Gundam. So it's got like the V2, and then a bunch of people are in like V dashes and stuff like that. But Shrike Team does show up in a bunch of like basically combination of like V dashes and Gunneezys. Like as they show up, my immediate comment was like, "It's a shame she's not here. She was the most like a Shrike of all of us." Because I'm a terrible person. Okay, so 5 turns. Well, I mean, hey, to their credit, at least on the shitty defend all of them, like don't let any of them take a hit, we do get to deploy immediately.
Guess there's
Units to either side, but I don't think there are any to the south. There's like less.
same as the top.
Okay. So
More to the side.
Yeah, more to the sides, but I think yeah.
You're all key. Let's go.
Yeah, because it's the entire Midnight Fenrir team. So yeah, at some point the Mudrock is going to show up.
Yep.
And if we care about being able to recruit Agar, we want to kill him in a special way, but I don't think we care.
You guys get the hell out of the way.
So we are definitely going to want to send some of our units north and south.
Yeah, we're going to do a weird split.
Yeah.
We're going to send some units out to the sides.
Because we've got effectively 18 units, I would say. Like, because there's more stuff to the sides. So, I mean, that being said, also like, aside from drawing aggro, realistically, one of our master units can hold each direction.
Yeah.
At least for top and bottom, because there are less units there. Yeah, maybe like 1 or 2 for support, and then have the rest go off to the sides.
Howdy.
Bye. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's more like a flatter.
Fortunately, none of the pre-deployed units are considered deployed by that trail. I mean, it does sometimes happen. Sometimes there will be units already out on the field that are considered tied to a given warship, but
This one doesn't do that. I think it only does actually warships themselves.
fair enough.
And I really don't care enough about it.
No, it's gonna be just a bunch of fucking gyms. They're gonna be like 5,000 each. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, it's been a while since I played Genesis. I know Overworld occasionally, like, it's not very common, but occasionally we'll have units already on the field that are technically attached to a warship. Deploy Badonkadonk Gundam.
What you gonna do with all that junk that touches your gun?
Credit where credit's due, at least it's not stupid diaper baby.
Sure, it's not stupid. Good job, John.
Hey, we gotta get some levels on her. It's like one of our most recent pilot recruits that we have chosen to use despite level disparity because she's fucking gross.
Yep.
She is another one of those ones where as we get towards end game and start just going with like finalized unit choices, we put her in literally anything B-type oriented, and it will just end poorly for whatever we set her against.
Good job, Striker.
Jim, half chug.
Oh, there are more.
Yeah, there'll be more after
Any time it's one of these, like, survive for X number of turns, there's always reinforcements. There might not be a ton, but there are always more units that spawn in gradually.
I don't know if it's a good one units gradually, but it will do, like, there's going to be more after 5 turns.
Even as many units as there are on the field right now, I cannot imagine they would expect this many units to last 5 turns against you.
Well, against you specifically, or against someone who's actually like going through the game normally.
We're not going through this game abnormally.
There's no grinding here.
We ground out basically one time to get the white base, and then I think we did the XP mission like once.
Okay.
To clear it. Technically we did do.
We've done some grinding to do like suit evolution.
We did grinding specifically to get the deep striker, but we're not even fielding the deep striker here. But most of the suits we have, this is not unnatural progress.
Also do the currency mission.
Yeah, but that was just to have currency to pick up stuff from the production list and whatnot. But yeah, like we have not actually significantly grounded this game like at all. Fair enough. This is actually pretty natural progression.
Yeah, I would say out of the like 45 or 50 hours we have on this same file, there is probably like 2.5 or 3 hours
at most. Which again is like maybe 3 scenarios, because a scenario is like 45-ish minutes minimum usually.
The rest is just everything we've done on camera.
Like, granted, we did have a little bit of directed focus in what we were developing towards. We didn't really do like a much of a scatter shot. So like, if you were playing this game as more like a completionist and trying to fill out your collection, yeah, you wouldn't have the kind of stuff we have here. But at the same time, you would be grinding a hell of a lot more for a completionist run than we are. So, yeah, no, this is this realistically is about where they expect you to actually be power-wise with your suits by the time you get here. It's not like what I did with my personal game, where I intentionally went and did the first mission of Unicorn as the first thing I did to go and get Unicorn-era suits to start with, and then went back and did 00779, because the base stats and stuff do kind of follow an evolutionary tree, and so, like, whereas stuff in, like, 007-9 era, like a lot of the early stuff, the base stats start at like maybe around like 50s or 60s. Stuff in Unicorn starts at like 215. That just makes the game an absolute joke. But yeah, no, we actually have not power leveled all that much in this game. I mean, honestly, to some extent, we're intentionally limiting ourselves to certain things, because, like, for instance, Sealing Squid's create a character, we always put in gyms or gym
mass production units.
Yeah, mass production units of some type, particularly Federation mass production units, because it's like a focused thing, because he is a huge fan of the gym line of suits and the various other like Fetty run suits. And so we specifically only keep him in those. Like, we definitely have stuff way better than the Gym 2 semi-striker we could be fielding right now. But that's on the field because...
It's on the field, and I'm actively going out of my way to get kills with it, because I know we have something to do off of it.
Yeah, in general, we tend not to grind in this unless, like, for instance, we have a particular suit. Because, like, for the, for some of them, we've done it just because, like, some of them have a requirement of, like, you have to get to, like, level 8 or 10 to develop into a certain thing. And we were like, okay, that's going to be, like, if we don't do some off-screen grinding, then we're just going to be seeing this suit for the next, like, 30 fucking scenarios to get to that point. But most of the base stuff that evolves at like level 4 or 5, we just get there naturally.
If I remember correctly, for how this game likes to do things, it says we have to survive for 5 turns. We have to actively leave someone
Correct.
on the battlefield and let 5 turns play out.
Yes, if one of the end conditions is, because like if you check actual conditions rather than event conditions, so check actual conditions here. Oh no, victory condition is defend the HLE at all costs for 5 turns. There is not actually a win condition for destroy all enemies, but I believe you are correct.
If I remember correctly from like I don't think we did it in this playthrough, so I'm pretty sure I remember when I did my personal playthrough, just way back in the day, there was one of the igloo missions where I got it done. Like I basically like
Killed everything faster.
it was like a do thing in like form, like have XYZ happen, like turn 5.
Right.
But I got all the enemies killed by turn 4, and it did a like scenario over.
Yeah. But you did get the credit for the thing.
But I didn't get the credit for the thing because it didn't actually go the full number of turns.
Yeah, it did not hit the state check. So yeah, we'll like leave
So we
like
will
a
actively
gym
leave a
alive.
single gym alive. Just to be safe.
And hopefully their aggro is not such that they will intentionally rush for the HLVs.
We'll box one.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, again, I think that's shitty range.
It counts all the writable discs that are in there as an active unit, I assume.
Yes, it does
Yeah.
treat
All the SFSs
SFSs
are
yeah.
considered.
So they're definitely keen to go move towards the
HLVs. Yeah, so we're gonna have to box one.
They'll still attack things in their range, but they'll act like
Yeah.
good job, Hero Armada.
Okay.
Your funeral.
Yeah.
Admire the balls on that gym pilot, I guess.
I'm gonna shoot one of the units. Which one? Literally the most logically.
You mean
advanced
that
unit.
one that just flew out, shot 3 of us dead without any effort?
Literally the most advanced unit on the entire board.
Piloted by Amuro fucking Ray.
HLV は必ず空に送り出してやるぜ。
He was the second highest kill count among Federation forces or something.
Amuro?
Yeah. I thought the highest was actually a sniper, from what I remember.
I mean, entirely possible. I mean, that being said, kill count is also kind of like not an exactly great measure for something like a war like in Gundam, because it's like, do you count the big Zom as one?
That's still only
counts as one.
You know what I mean, though? It's like,
yeah,
sure, the sniper might have taken out a lot more Zaku 2s. How many mobile armors did it defeat?
Yeah.
If you destroy a battleship that is transporting mobile suits, do you get the kills from the mobile suits inside?
Or they'll just count it separately or something.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a really good metric.
No, it isn't.
The metrics by which we determine like traditional like war stuff is just kind of a
okay, so that's not the best metric either in some cases as well. It's like,
but yeah, especially when you're considering stuff like, yes, there is a significant difference between taking out like a Zaku 2 and like a Gelgu, or a Zaku 2 and the Big Zom. Like,
as a matter of fact, that was also kind of a thing in World War II. A lot of like German aces were like, "Yeah, congratulations, you shot down a bunch of biplanes over Poland." It's
yeah.
Where it's like they became aces off of a technological difference more than anything of actual skill.
Pretty much.
I just can't imagine the battlefield or the battlefield radio over this entire battle. He's piloting what the Christ is that?
I mean, in fairness, even in the series that all these things are from, the reaction to most of those is, "What the Christ is that?"
Why is it wearing a diaper?
Did that thing just deploy 6 other mobile suits?
Yeah, that thing is just a giant pile of nonsense.
I mean, again, that is pretty much the definitional term of Advance of Zeta Flag of Titans.
Yeah.
They are all nonsense. They are all named for Watership Down characters.
That's somehow just disturbing.
It's what it is. Like, that one in particular that we've been seeing, the one with the big fucking, like, dome on its badongadong. That's the Queenly. Somewhere on the field, I think it might be the one that Haman is in, is the Hazel.
Hamon's
in the Banshee.
The Norn.
No, there's one of them right there, the one on the bottom of that stack. Okay, Yuko is in the Hazel, full armor. Yeah. Like, I knew we had a Hazel around here somewhere.
That actually explains the name. Which is more than I expect from Gundam, quite frankly.
No, there is actually a naming theme specific to the Advanced Zeta Flag of Titans. They are all named after Watership Down characters.
Super hot.
Sometimes they do combine them because, like, as you progress down the line of the Hazel, you get like the Hazel Lily and Ra, or Hazel Lily Il-Ra, and like stuff like that. There's like the Woundwort, the Queenly.
More super to the north.
only 2 HLVs?
There are only 2 HLVs. Yeah.
Okay.
The fire everything attack.
Yep.
何やってんだろう私。一気に仕掛けましょう。皆さん行くです。一気に攻め立てるよ。突っ込んでやる。あんたも来なさい。一気に行きます。
この間全ての敵を殲滅
It doesn't have those additional attack
みん
options.
なで敵に向かってどんな感じ？逃がすものだ。
King Striker literally only has the melee attack. You do big continuous or combined attacks like that if you have a group attack. If you have a battleship initiate it. It does do fixed damage and splits that fixed damage across everything in the attack. Really the important thing there was weakening everything and making the quicker all of them.
Yeah, that being said, the big thing about the group attack is that it only uses up the turn of the battleship. So everything else that's included in the group attack can then follow up and clear stuff, basically.
Now if I didn't split it up, it would have done all that damage to its pursuit.
And killed it. And in that instance, anytime that there's like a group attack, whether it be by a group attack like that, or just like a support attack that comes in, the XP for the kill is actually distributed among everyone who took part.
Yep.
So that is technically the way you sort of tend to power level weaker suits a lot of times, is you get them involved in a support attack from something else bigger that's going to kill it. Or like, for instance, if we were going to try and go for that, the special objective here where we have to get the kill on the Agar with the bazooka off the special unit, we basically do a support. We arrange it so that we basically get a support attack off. We have that unit do the main attack using that specific weapon, and then we support attack with the other one to basically make sure that it's going to actually be a kill. Alternatively, the other way you do it is you have a much stronger unit beat down the thing until it has like maybe 1,000 HP left. That, however, usually involves saves coming to make sure they don't accidentally like crit and kill the thing.
Yeah.
That one there might be the best option to box in, because it is not in position at the moment to where it can actually hit an HLV, and it is like that side is basically clear. So we don't really, we don't particularly need those units for much else. And I think that side, even on the south end, is clear. Yeah, like the.
There's one enemy on the right. South has the most stuff, but
yeah, we do want to make sure that that one dude that's advanced furthest on the west end there is taken care of, because he might be able to get a shot in on the HLV from full movement there, but we also haven't activated anything on this end yet, so we're gonna be fine.
dealt with.
Yep. Like, I wasn't super concerned. He was already in danger zone. Like,
Yeah.
that dude was fucked. There was no way he was surviving this round. That's also why you do shit like this, which is like wholly unnecessary, because that was going to die from the Zaka 3 custom, but at least get some XP on the other unit as well.
Neither of them are actually strong enough to take them out.
Yeah, they're not going to one-shot, so we just this sort of leapfrog with support attacks to do the thing.
That's a new one.
Yep.
Yazan gave.
Yeah. Also helps getting XP on Yazan there, since he is another one of our more recent pilot acquisitions, so he's not at level with most of the rest of our team.
Feel bad being killed by the members.
You didn't want to go into that battleship there with the Hades system, that system that remember when we talked about how they decided to shove the soul of a new type inside a computer and make it then run the Gundam alongside a pilot?
Yeah.
Well, what if we just took all the recorded data from that and instead put all of that responsibility solely in the hands of an AI, because they are far more responsible and stable than the actual soul of a new type, right?
Are we talking about actual AIs or AIs in...
we're talking fiction AIs.
Oh yeah, God, no, that's a terrible idea. How long does it take to decide that it should kill all of humanity?
Well, no, it never does that. It does fucking ruin the brains of anybody who attempts to pilot the suit that it's in.
It does take over the pilot. When it feels
You,
there's enough of a...
you can get an indicator of the kind of thing this system does by the aspect of A, it's called the Hades system, and B, the suits that it is present in, the one particular one we have on the field here, is the Todesritter, or German for Death Knight.
Hades is also an acronym.
Yes, it is also an acronym, as is exam. Like, all of this shit is acronym. Technically speaking, in some AUs, Gundam is an acronym, but that's stupid. We're not going to talk about that.
That's like hyper animosity.
That's okay. It's still not the dumbest acronym in all of Gundam, which is the nested acronym of Zaku.
Zaku is an acronym that has an acronym in it?
Not in UC. In UC, Zaku is just Zaku, which is what the suit is called. However...
Is this AU's trying to justify stupid names?
Yes.
Okay.
Wherein Zaku is the Zaft Armed Keeper of Unity, wherein Zaft stands for the Zodiac Alliance of Freedom Treaty.
Change phase.
Yep. Bounce between all the units, doing energy and health regen.
Yep.
Hyper Animosity Detect Estimate System.
I knew it was hyper animosity.
Okay, when you have the word animosity in your weapon system.
Well, it's a hyper animosity detect system that detects hyper animosity towards the person. It then takes over the pilot's brain.
Were there ethical freaking engineers during the 1 year war?
To be fair, Graves, who's the person behind the Hades system and all the different Pale Riders, is not an ethical person. They are Federation, though.
I don't know if they ever actually established what exam is an acronym for. It is established that it is an acronym. I don't think they ever outright state what it stands for.
I want to see this punch someone. Ah, uses a beaky face.
Well, that's a thing.
I repeat, Advance of Zeta Flag of the Titans is entirely comprised of nonsense.
Good job, Coronado.
Right. I did somehow manage to forget that the Gundam acronym stands for different things between Seed and Seed Destiny.
Why?
Yeah. Because, like, it's General Purpose Utility Non-Discontinuity Augmentation Maneuvering Weapon System, or Gunnery United Nuclear Deuterion Advanced Maneuver System.
Stop talking.
That's it in a nutshell.
There is also Gamma Unificational Dimalium Amalgam Mobile Suit. Or the more relevant to that particular setting, Govern of Universe Nation Decide Advanced Mobile Suit. Genetic on Universal Neutrally Different Alloynium Mobile Suit.
This is literally Joe just waiting for other things to do.
We're
Yeah.
just waiting for the clock to run out.
Yeah.
More enemies will show up, though, so I'm basically kind of going
Into the
in the ships.
Yeah.
Just as needed. Things show up.
It's
also
like-
restores energy, doesn't it?
Yes, it restores energy and health.
And yes, in the Cosmic Era, all of the many Gundam acronyms refer to the name of the OS on the respective mobile suits. So you have General Unilateral Neurolink Dispersive Autonomic Maneuver Synthesis System, Generation Unsubdued Nuclear Drive Assault Module Complex, Generation Unrestricted Network Drive Assault Module, Gigantic Unilateral Numerous Dominating Ammunition, Gunnery United Nuclear Deuterion Advanced Maneuver System, and Guider Unmanned Deployment Autonomic Manipulation.
Which series is this?
That's Seed.
That's still all C.
Yep,
Yes,
they're all seed.
all of those are the different Gundam acronyms from Seed.
Every suit has its own Gundam.
And then there is 00, where Gundam is specifically lettered in all capitals with periods between each letter, but it is never explained what this acronym stands for.
I feel like that was on purpose.
It's 00, it's entirely possible. Yeah, I was actually actively looking. I do not think they ever actually established what exam stands for.
Guys, can I go now?
Cry more, Jim.
One turn? One turn.
One turn left.
Keep defending him. What?
That one gem we're holding on the ground, spinning in its mouth.
Again, the balls on these pilots to take shots at the fucking full armor unicorn
he
with Amuro in
He
it.
first took 2 shots at the Phoenix and was like, well, this isn't working.
I know, I'll aim at Amuro Ray.
Right.
That'll end better for me.
I mean, you could hit the Phoenix because Kachiro can't dodge.
Fly, HLVs.
Sniper. Still to protect the second. Troops. Oh no! The units I wasn't using have to fall down. Wrench. Oh no, the roar.
That's the full party platter. Hatred. There's too much glowy blue light. I need to get out of here.
On the terrain.
We can see it. It's right there.
From the not incomplete 6th.
Yeah, the full Mudrock. Man, that would almost be intimidating. Saikoro fucking end him.
Yeah, we don't care about getting
No, we don't care about
Agar as a
unlocking
unit,
Agar
so,
as a pilot. Like, if it was to unlock the Mudrock, like, that's one thing, but... No, it's like, oh no, we're not going to be able to recruit Agar.
I assume you unlock the Mudrock by other means.
I mean, either developing into it or it probably in one of the, or no, because that's 4th and 5th, huh?
we've had the money.
No, I'm saying, though, Space Beyond the Blaze is 4th and 5th Gundam. Yeah, so it wouldn't even be in there.
Don't worry, there's also a Saikoro Gundam.
But yeah, no, if we wanted a Mudrock, we would just go and buy one from the production list. We unlocked it a long time ago.
Okay.
Various Gundam ratings.
I'm pretty sure that was actually in progress to what is now our Unicorn full armor, because I'm pretty sure we got the Unicorn full armor off of 7th full armor, and we got to 7th through that whole progress line. Wait. God, if I am 100% certain of that, it's been 2 fucking years. But I do remember we definitely had the 7th full armor at some point, and I'm pretty sure we turned that into the Unicorn full armor that Amuro's in right now, because we have just had the progress of putting Amuro in more and more ridiculous Gundams as time has gone on. But yeah, as far as like off-stream grinding or anything like that, the only one thing that I believe we said we were going to do remaining to do off-stream at this point is we are going to go back and beat one of the short missions, the 2 scenario missions on the like hardest difficulty that we currently have access to, because that unlocks one more suit that unlocks the Silver Bullet, which is a suit we want to get.
Unknown.
Jim Strikers.
Actual strikers.
Char, each in the air of their ways.
Char, which stands for competent, hyper.
私から逃げられると思っているのか
Yeah.
Although each unit typically have the much inflated health pool, so
Yeah, they have a really big health pool and usually bonus stats, and also that was the S Gundam in the like split form, not its regular form, so it is a little weaker. More maneuverable, but doesn't hit as hard.
Sir, is that a giant die?
Don't look at it.
Nose angle.
There's one of the hairs.
I'm sure something down there has capture as well, so it should be alright. Press triangle, we can see what's on it. Not on that one. Okay, he has a skill launcher. Cool. Yeah, 'cause, I mean, again, it's Gym Strikers. They're not going to be worth a whole ton, but as long as they're there, we may as well get them.
Bad news for you, buddy.
You don't even get the dignity of dying in an animation.
Oh, hey! It's in destroy mode now.
Yep.
Some ridiculous attack it gets where it just reverts all of the suits back to like an 8-bit form.
Oh no, that's the crystallized unicorn that gets the reversion attack.
Yeah, the crystallized unicorn, but you can only get to get literally every other suit in the game.
Yes.
Has a single attack, which is like just like using its hand to cut things, like it does to the Neo Zeon in the actual anime. And it has an ability it can use, which makes it so no enemies can actually take a turn.
Okay. You technically don't have to get every other suit in the game.
Hell.
You have to specifically beat the Gundam Unicorn thing on Hell.
Was it just unicorn on hell for that? That was.
That's what the quest is. Ultimate Human Wisdom is defeat Unicorn on Hell.
All of Unicorn?
The entire Unicorn scenario, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, you have to beat all scenarios in Unicorn on Hell. If you have done this, you no longer need to play this game.
Our team of 18 hot scrambles.
Isn't the hot scramble the thing you just keep in the base and don't use because it's too broken?
Yes.
Which is saying something.
It was one of the free suits we got for having the DLC stuff, and it is like all its base stats are like 500. It has like 26,000 health. All its stats are like 500. You could literally put you could literally put a Haro in it as the pilot, and it would still be the most dangerous unit on the field by a long shot.
Hi guys.
Well, that said, you have like 14 layer gears on these.
Pretty sure that's already actually on the S Gundam.
XS probably.
Yeah, pretty sure the XS was either 4 or 5. Try and hold it.
4. You can also get another Deep Striker.
Good. We can also do that by getting the XS and leveling that to probably like 5 or 6.
Probably more useful for us to keep the XS around. We only have 2 slots for picking.
Yes.
Taking up 2 slots.
Oh no, it is absolutely more useful to keep the XS around. Or if the XS turns into something else of use.
It's just gonna take him forever to get up there. By the time I'll spend my time moving the Zaku 3 from the bottom.
Yeah.
Come and get you.
Jesus.
I mean, is the back unit.
Yeah, I mean, it's the BWS for the reviews, but it is still just very funny. That is almost certainly all the levels we need in this thing. I don't know what the fuck is it turning into.
Haven't I just been doing the Rizal?
Yeah, because we already have everything else in the production list. So yeah, we are more than done with the Rigazine. However you want to say it. As you may have noticed, I kind of swapped back and forth.
This plane thing.
Repaired, yeah.
This is
Which I don't think we were turning into anything either. I think this is what we just have because we need a solid unit on Ambrose, basically a solid new-type unit to make use of her 500 some odd awakened stat.
Paralleled awakened stat.
Is that tied to the weapon, or is that tied to the suit itself, or the weapons it uses?
So certain weapons are like awakened weapons, Psychomi weapons. So they are modified based on awakened stat. There generally isn't anything tied to the suit specifically that relies on awaken, other than the fact that awaken as a stat, what it literally does is give you a boost to like reaction and attack and like basically all your piloting stats for the most part. I think like defense is the only one that doesn't get a boost from awaken.
I think it's like the attack and defense.
Yeah. So like you are better at piloting any suit by having a high awakened stat, but also if the suit happens to have Psychomi weapons on it, they are fucking gross because like their range, their damage, their hit rate, everything is based on your awakened stat. It's part of why we also keep Hamon and stuff like the fucking Banshee Unicorn and shit like that, because again, she also has just an absolutely fucking gross base awakened stat. Like she's level, I think, 6 and already has a better awaken than most of our other new type pilots.
Yeah. And she's Mon, so.
Yeah.
Got the XP on God, why do we do that? Hey, money.
Oh, yeah. These will be capturable once we blow up the big tray.
The big tray.
Yep. Somehow managed to, like, I don't know, shove a rocket booster up Garrett's ass. We could actually probably pull off that mission right now, but I also still don't care. Because Mudrock's not in good shape.
We have to waste 3 turns anyway, so. 3K? Oh yeah, you do it.
Check these to see what, if anything, needs levels still.
You're doing gun hand defenders.
Yeah, we will just basically find what we haven't made yet. Yeah, that one we need level 5 on, so we can go levels on that. Get us the Mark 5 and Brave Cod.
Brave cod.
Brave fish.
Specifically cod.
Oh, that blew up. This is interesting how the Antarctic Treaty, they decided that every single piece of mobile armor and warship should be loaded with tons and tons of explosions, so everything looks very fancy when it's destroyed.
I mean, fairness, in actual Gundam things don't always blow up like that. There's plenty of, like, just disabled warships floating around. It's just for the sake of the game to keep it clear of the fucking field, like.
It is overly dramatic, though.
Right, that's also why the Queenly didn't have a ceiling launcher, because I think in this Masters still have it near capture in their command radius.
Is this operation kill one more and then surround surround a Zaku?
We are certainly gonna go surround a gym.
Or is it Jim? Yeah. Wrong fodder.
Yep.
Oh, that's dead.
Yeah. It is, kill one, surround the other one, and slowly move Garrett up to finish off the Mudrock. So that we can unlock the ability to recruit Agar as a pilot and then laugh at his stats.
Oh no. Go nuts on that gym.
見つけた落としてみせるいただき
This just seems unnecessary.
It was.
Yeah, even if we can't box him, then we can at least make sure we can't get anywhere of significance.
That's You're basically locking him into that area and boxing him next turn.
Yeah.
I feel.
No, it's the Sakami
it's the
Jack
Sakami
is the
Jack,
one. Yeah. Yeah, that is specifically triggered when it enters destroy mode. It basically 9-tile disable Sakami weapons thing.
Ah, can actually turn nonsense off.
Unlike the Neo Zeon, which just has a 9-tile turn off ranged weapons.
It's specifically beam weapons.
Yeah, which is like 90% of the ranged
They'll
weapons in the
shoot
game.
bazookas.
So, very hard to shoot with most ranged weapons. Only 2 turns of boredom left.
Maybe drop a save real quick. Oh, well, actually, maybe we got a extra turn anyways.
So don't save.
Yeah.
Just out of hand. I wasn't trying to do a buff on it.
Ah, yeah. Actually, hold on a second. Back up real quick. Maybe from the, white base. The white base has on it. Yeah, high vigor would work. Make it basically guaranteed. Nothing else really. Value on it.
Just outside of range, though. I could also do, like, quick motion, but
Yeah,
that's
fine. He's already got like a 78% chance to hit anyways, so it's pretty solid.
You can do it!
You only have a 22% chance of failure.
強力な長射程のキャノンとの融合。これぞまさに俺の求めていたモビルスーツだ。
Speaking your language, Shiv.
Cannons. I mean, I do have the Mud Rock. I have Mad Rock in this one.
Yep, that's it. Bye, Agar.
I do like my suits with big cannons.
And he just disappears.
Oh, yeah. There we go. There's Brocken's ghost. Okay, now to surround that gym for like one more turn.
And I'm just gonna stand here because. Extra secure.
I want to join. One gym has to be like.
Maybe if I throw my gun at them, they'll be so confused I can run.
Come on.
I mean, in fairness, there's not a good choice here.
No, there's not. I mean, he could shoot actual NPC.
Garrett, yeah.
Garrett.
Yeah.
He's in there.
I mean, he's still not going to kill him.
No. Who are you going to swing at with the gem?
The Phoenix.
Hit the Phoenix. You can't dodge.
I mean, she just did, but...
Like
You underestimate how
levels that
incompetent
she
the gem
can
pilot
dodge,
is.
but like her actual reaction is awful.
Yeah. I mean, her awaken is great,
She
though,
does have good awaken.
which
That is
does
true.
add to reaction.
I think she is a bucket of defense.
Yeah.
Right. 2 down, 15 more to go.
Spawn a bunch more HLVs. Spawn 1,000 enemies.
Spawn an HLV on every one of these launch pads. Each one takes 5 full turns to launch.
We only launch them one at a time. Because he's completely behind the Kashatsu or rebuild, it just looks like it's Kashatsu talking every time. Like, even though it's an SD-like scale and only takes up like one space, not a like XL unit, it's still fucking huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, some of the larges are like very borderline.
There's a reason that the HG Kshatriya over there is as large as most of the MG boxes.
Yeah. I mean, it and the G Gundam. Like, the G Gundam over there is directly on top of the MG Sananju. They are the same size. And yeah, the Kshatriya is basically the same size as the G box, so...
Oh, look, here's done.
Didn't do anything.
One person on their team did something.
They launched one,
Fired one bazooka.
yeah.
Humiliated the Madrock pilot.
I mean, he was still stunned from being tackled by a giant die.
Right, so what I learned is the Zeonic Front consists of a bunch of other people coming in who are unrelated to the story and fulfilling the entire mission.
That's how every scenario
That's
works.
every, yeah, that's every scenario in G-Gen.
And nothing of import actually happens.
Oh, look, Anaro's got the most kills. What a shock.
Well, it's not necessarily most kills. It's like a weird point system. Because, like, I'm pretty sure that taking out
More
ships
ships
is worth
counts more, yeah.
And she did take out, like, go over the top, which kind of ruined shit.
Yeah.
And Attorney of Frey got a bunch flying around in the back unit, just wiping things off the map.
全ての HLV を空に送り出した後、闇夜のフェンリル隊はキャリフォルニアベースから脱出した。こうして北米最大の拠点は失われ、戦いは
We told them not to build a base the size of an entire state,
今後地上に残した
especially
ジオン軍
California.
兵士たちは
It's very
ますます厳しい戦いを強いられるだろう。
We're actually more wondering why Zeon put up such a fight on Earth with terrible tactics like this.
Their California base is their base. That's one of
愛
ours.
する者を
Yeah,
守る
Federation base.
ジオンの旗のもと戦場に身を投
It's
じ
an
た将兵た
established
ちは
Federation base.
それぞれの思いと理由を持って戦いそして死んでいった。そうした思いを持って戦う戦友がいる限り
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that particularly was California base had gotten captured by Zeon and was being used for the HLV launches.
Yeah, at that point. I think California base is also where they developed the Blue Destiny.
That sounds right.
If I remember everything correctly. Also, they
そ
go
れか
there
ら
in
し
like
ばらくしてフェンリル隊
the
は
fixed version of
北アフリカ
Gundam
の
where
リビア砂
the
漠
places they go
その
make
姿
fucking
を現
sense.
した
Yes, where they go to Los Angeles and not
北アフ
New
リカにおけ
Yaku.
る最大規模の補給基地を
And don't do weird things like go halfway across the planet only to come back halfway across the
北
planet
ア
for
フ
no
リカ
fucking
方面
reason.
の構成作戦の
In mild fairness, we are
だが
talking about
フ
untold
ェ
future
ンリル
names
隊
of
の
places
潜伏
can
する拠点を
change.
突き止めた連邦軍は
No, New Yaku is New York.
New York is New
And
York.
Los Angeles is Los Angeles.
Hong Kong is still
同
Hong
情して
Kong.
なおも徹底
Dublin is still
抗戦を続
Dublin.
け
No, they,
Still
they, they,
actual
they don't
places to go
actually
to.
change the names of places in Gundam. They are what they say they are.
Generally not, but yeah.
そして
But it is conceivable they changed the name of New York over the course of that much time.
闇夜のフェンリル隊と雌雄を決するため
Also not
リ
that
ビア
much
砂漠
time.
に到着した映画少尉は
I don't know, Universal Century is Is there an actual translation to?
There is.
Well,
It's
so-
of questionable canonicity.
Well, so the whole thing
Yeah.
about Universal Century is that you see zeros when they first go to like establish stuff in space.
Yeah.
ならどうする
Like space colonies and that kind of stuff.
戦に出なければならないでしょう。戦争は終わった
But
と
I
いう
don't
のに
think like I don't think there's an official link up to current calendars, but it's not
なら
that
軍師
far
を
into the
立てて
future.
説得するよりないな
軍師を立てる。
You can
これはそうかもしれませんが
technically get there by some population math.
大体
essentially.
誰が軍師に
Because the one of the triggering incidents of UC, like one of the canonical things we have, is that UC 001 is the year when Earth population exceeds 9 billion. And that is why they start sending people off to the high worlds of the space colonies.
どうしてです少尉あの敵軍に知り合いでもいるって言うんですか
ああいるさ立場は違うが
Yeah, like I was saying, there's questionable canonicity, but there has been some stuff that's established, like just based on events and stuff. Because, for instance, it is the moon landing, the Apollo program, is actually a canonical part of Gundam timeline.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that is referenced. So.
A Blanc, right on.
Yep.
Damn.
We're trying one of the Minovsky craft that we're looking to get is a gold modification. That's why we were specifically going for the defend thing.
Because randomized, unfortunately.
Yeah, they are randomized in the sense of we were going to unlock a gold modification of some sort, but which one it is random within the pool of remaining gold modifications. So we are still waiting to get the Minovsky craft. That being said, it's probably a good place to wrap up for the day here, since we have just finished up Zeonic Front. Yeah, join us next time. We will be starting up with Lost War Chronicles. Between streams, we will probably go through and we'll do development, we'll do ace point distribution, stuff like that. We may also go and unlock the Silver Bullet. We'll figure it out one way or another there. Just because we can pretty easily go back and do like 8th MS team on fucking turn it real quick. Like no big deal. But yeah. So yeah. Nice return for Super Robot Sundays here. Yeah. We'll be back going through this, making our way back through finishing off G-Gen Genesis. And by the time we finish that, we'll figure out what we're going to do next for Super Robot Sundays. But that is going to be our sort of Sunday stream theme going forward for the foreseeable future, because we've got easily a couple years worth of games already lined up here. Join us tomorrow night for more Poke Mondays with what is closing in on the end of Pokemon Bushido, my understanding. Maybe. We don't really know how long the game is.
Like some chunk of after
post-game kind of stuff.
Yeah,
after Pingakuri, but we'll see. Like, I know that there's fights for Pokemon trainers that go all the way up to like level 90s, and we're not that far. But I don't know if that's like super post worry about grinding, or if it's just like there's actual story that takes us all the way there.
Oh, regardless, join us tomorrow for more Poke Mondays with Pokemon Bushido. Join us Tuesday as we continue our battle against the villainous crab in Phoenix Point. Back on Saturday evening for more Danganronpa 3 as we begin the 3rd chapter. And we'll be right back here next Sunday with more Super Robot Sundays and our continuing playthrough of SD Gundam G Generation Genesis. Until then, I've been Bograt.
I've been Krampus.
I've been Shiv.
And I'm Vincent.
Have a good one, everyone.